All right, welcome in, chat. Welcome in, welcome in. We are live on another Friday night. Welcome into the pod. Hey, yo, chat. What a time to be alive for a sports fan. It's just, I almost feel overstimulated by sports. Though, hey, yo, pause right out of the gate. But I mean, just an amazing time. Of course, that time on the sports calendar where we have all the sports in season at the same time. The schedule kind of intersecting. I think we're hovering around a sports equinox as well too. One of these days, chat. We're gonna get all of the actual games on the same day as well too. So hey, yo, stay tuned for that. But and then just on top of that, our teams as well too. It's like, are we just gonna be cruising past expectations in all of these different sports? I mean, of course, the Colts have had like the best 7 games of offense that a team has ever had in NFL history. Just the most efficient offense ever. Daniel Jones has been an absolute win, and now of course 1 game into the NBA season. I mean, hey, yo, could Wemby have had a more impressive first game? Probably not. I mean, that's just checks every box, not just for a guy year 3 where it's like, he's going to be taking the steps forward. What level is he going to get to? It's just like, if I guess, hey, yo, we got Giannis on in the background right now. It's like if Giannis goes out and of course has that stat line game 1, it's just like, oh man, is this Giannis is the best player in the league all of a sudden again. Like, Jokic, look how dominant Giannis is. And, this game really did make me, the game that Wemby had in that opening night against Dallas really did make me think about that statement that was being made around the time of the draft when he was, of course, when we were just getting about, see, like, how hyperbolic I think hyperbolic can we get about his sort of, just what his upside is in the NBA. And there was that quote going around about one of the scouts saying that he was going to be the best offensive player and defensive player in the league by his 3rd season. And it did seem like, I mean, the defensive stuff, undoubtedly, we knew right away that the defensive stuff, well, I guess, once he started playing, of course, we knew that the defensive stuff was going to just translate right away, that he was going to be a menace there. I mean, he should have basically won Defensive Player of the Year both years that he was playing. It's just, injuries and time played, and I guess, rookie season, all that different stuff, of course, has been a little bit of a factor into it. But I was seeing a stat float around as well, too, that was like most consecutive games with a block. Here, let me see. I guess I could. It was a Instagram screenshot of a StatHead post. So I don't know if it was something that we could just look up on StatHead as well. But yeah, it's 80. Wemby has 86 consecutive games with a block. So I guess that goes to the 22nd. But yeah, I guess they haven't played. They didn't play yesterday, so the 23rd. So I guess unless he doesn't get a block tonight against the Pelicans, and I guess the game time start for that was 9 minutes ago, so does he have a block yet, chat? Hey, yo, he might. Should we just double check and see if the streak's already at 87? Maybe it's a couple minutes getting going here for Spurs Pelicans. Okay, Pelicans are scared to take the court against Wembanyama tonight. I was going to say, wait a second, what's this starting lineup for the Spurs? This is not what we had out there against the Mavs, but Sohan, Lindy Waters, De'Aaron Fox, and Kelly Olynyk. But that's our injury report. So our injury report's actually not bad. We didn't even have De'Aaron Fox out there for the first game. So I don't know. Biggest loser of the Spurs game against the Mavs, chat, might be De'Aaron Fox. Hey, yo. It is what it is. I mean, we're definitely excited to have him on the team. Make no mistake, I don't know if this estimated return date was November 2nd before the game or not. But I guess that's a couple more games to see what this core looks like without De'Aaron Fox. And, of course, De'Aaron Fox is part of the core as well, too. But, hey, yo, and speaking of, yeah, just, of course, I guess Sohan as well, too. We'll get him back in the mix at the same time. So, there's another sort of wing defensive player there that I guess, we were able to get to an extension agreement with Sohan, but he's going to be an important guy to a playoff rotation, you would assume. We're still kind of figuring out what part of the rotation that is. Is he the 4th best man in a finals team? Is he the 8th man in a finals team? Where does he fall in that range? But he'll be out there on the floor, make no mistake. He's an impact guy for sure. But yeah, so we got, again, the defensive, I mean, we all know that he was great defensively, but, and you can check the tapes from the offseason. It was just us, I guess, and we do, I mean, hey, yo, it is what it is. We can admit we can fall into the pessimistic mindset of being a fan sometimes and just being like, oh, what if it doesn't happen with Wemby? And not even that, what if he doesn't become a really good player, I guess, is not even what we were worried about. But obviously the expectations were just so crazy for him. And there is, you know, to lead it, to be a guy that's going to be the number one option on a titles team, as good as he is defensively and as important as that is, you do have to achieve a certain level of, I guess we'll say, independence offensively as a player, where you have to be able to, you know, carry the team in that way as well too. And I was thinking about that a little bit with him training with Hakeem. And if Hakeem, of course, is as good of a defensive player as the league has ever seen, arguably, you know, you could make a case that he's the best defensive man in the front, you know, the best defensive big man, you know, of all time. Definitely, the argument's definitely there. But offensively as well too, he's just one of the most special offensive players that the league has ever seen. And I guess, you know, we'd have to go through and really check the Hakeem tapes. But when he made that finals run, of course, the thing that is you know, that stands out about that finals run, as much as you're like, okay, the two-way impact and him just, you know, being Hakeem flying around the court, but how he was just cooking guys offensively and just at the peak of his powers from sort of a footwork, IQ standpoint, because he was a little bit older when he did win the title. So he had that you know, he was at that intersection of athleticism and that, you know, that perfect intersection of athleticism and IQ as a player, where he still had enough of the, you know, hey, yo, pause the juice. Hey, yo, chat, it is what it is. But, you know, he still had enough of, you know, he still has enough of that young Hakeem athleticism, but had just, you know, had developed such a good offensive player at that point. And I guess, you know, is Wemby obviously, you know, Hakeem this year. Oh, he's got 2 points, chat. I guess we're checking for the blocks. Does he have a block yet? Hey, yo. But yeah, we were questioning guys in year 3 as well too. We weren't necessarily holding him to the expectation of would he be the best offensive player in the league by year 3, but that was the part of the statement that it felt like, it's not like why does it need to happen, but again, I don't even know if it needed to happen in his evaluation for him to be the player that he needs to be. Again, it just needed for him to achieve that, whatever that level is of offensive independence, because I guess you could make the case that Hakeem was at a time the best offensive player in the league, maybe, but especially without MJ. But again, I guess MJ as well too would have been the best offensive player in the league when he was there. But, you know, I guess like Steph, you could make a case that at the peak of his powers, you know, these are all guys that again win the finals, so maybe you do, you know, hey, a hot take, the best offensive guy in the league wins the finals. But Kawhi as well, like Kawhi, of course, is he ever like the number one best? I mean, his efficiency and stuff, like, make no mistake, you can definitely make cases for all these guys. Giannis as well too. You know, him and Jokic, like the Giannis defenders, of course, we're going to hold the defense for Giannis, you know, closely. Hey, pause. You know, it's something that you're definitely going to bring up in terms of the comparison with him and Jokic as a player. But Jokic, of course, offensively, definitely, you know, maybe a couple levels above a lot of people that we've seen. But you're just like, okay, year 3, he's going to be the best offensive player in the league. And, you know, there's not a case that he is going to not be the best offensive player in the league by the end of the year. I don't know if we ended up with the right grammar that we were going for there, but I guess, again, it's still a tough bar to clear. And especially with Jokic in the league as well, too, because I was like, okay, you know, again, if we're just ranking just like the offensive side of things, then who is he going to get past? Of course, Jokic, Doncic, you know, Shea, like we were watching in that Rockets game, you know, is just as good. But Wemby, from a shot-making standpoint now, is, you know, in that game, he was as good as anybody in the league, but the shots that he was hunting for in that game were, I think, a lot more they were just smarter shots for sure. And I guess that, you know, if you're going to be a lead player as well too, for offensively, shot IQ is going to be a part of getting good looks, stuff like that, even if he is a taller player. But last year, I mean, he was really settling for a lot of 3-pointers and a lot of easy looks, and he was really falling into becoming a perimeter player that you're just like, okay, you know, you're 7.5 foot tall. Like, let's use that to your advantage a little bit. And you see him even in this Mavs game. Like, I don't know if he's still not a post player by any, again, he is stronger for sure. Like, there is the aspects of bully ball there that are starting to be like, oh man, like now Davis, you know, like who is Davis going to be, you know, weak against in the league? And again, I don't know if he was like backing down Davis, like maybe like, I guess Embiid, you know, peak of his powers Embiid. Like, I don't know if he would necessarily, you know, that kind of level of physicality, but at least his ability to hold up and work through contact and be on balance through all of his shots, is definitely there. And, you know, again, going back to some of the draft stuff, if he was going to be that type of level of offensive player, and again, he trains with Hakeem and all that stuff, but there was that Durant element to his game that, you know, again, Durant is by all means, he's definitely a perimeter player. Again, not a guy that is a post player. He's not, again, I guess Embiid's the only post player we have. Like Valanciunas, you know, he's not Valanciunas, but he does not necessarily rely on the three-pointer as the main part of his game. He's super efficient, and if he's in a high-volume scenario, then, again, he can be obviously a great person in that environment because he's just a great offensive player. So, you know, again, like if Wemby's three-point shot continues to develop and you put Wemby on the 2017 Warriors, like, is he going to shoot more three-pointers? Probably. Well, you know, in that scenario, the space Wemby would have around the basket would be insane, of course, as well, too. But the mid-range stuff and, like, him just, like, kind of top-of-the-key mid-range wing scenarios where he's going to, like, rip through on Davis and drive and then the little one-dribble pull-ups and stuff. Again, he's not Kareem. He's not, again, even Hakeem as well, too. But he's definitely hunting better shots and definitely taking more advantage of the fact that he's 7.5 foot tall on offense, and he is a little bit stronger as well, too, this year. I guess a little bit. I'm not trying to be, you know, disrespectful. I guess, you know, hey, yo, Wemby, there's still a couple of levels. You know, how far can we take this thing? Hey, yo, pause. But, I mean, that's, you know, again, just in terms of the style of offensive player that he's going to be, that was a pretty perfect game. And I guess, again, for a guy that's 7.5 foot tall and for as versatile skill-wise as he is. Oh, chat, the feds are on fire right now. Hey, yo, they got Chauncey Billups, and they just got our live stream of the World Series. Hey, yo, are they going to, well, I guess they're probably going to hunt down some other people before they start knocking on our door. Hey, yo, we don't want to jinx it, chat, but, well, I guess, you know, it's easy target if you want to find somebody that's watching. But, hey, yo, snitch on yourself. But, yeah, it is what it is. I guess, so shout out to the MLB. We're trying over here. We're trying. But, I guess we're going to have to put in a little legwork, pause, to try to get this to go. Or we just default to running 2 NBA games. That may end up being the scenario, but I do kind of want to watch the World Series. We're going to give it a shot, especially this first game, because I don't really know how good the Blue Jays are. Again, not as a baseball guy, but we do know the Dodgers, of course, are pretty good. But I guess, hey, this is saying that the Blue Jays at least had a better regular season record, if that means anything. Uh-oh, chat. We might be out of luck for the baseball World Series. It is what it is. Right at the Ohtani at bat. Hey, yo, that's why the feds were like, wait a second, we're watching the World Series now that Ohtani's up at bat. Is anybody else watching this that shouldn't be? And now they're locked in. So Ohtani, you know, he gets the eyeballs, chat. You know, he's good for the league in some ways. But, you know, regardless, we'll keep an eye on the results as well, too. We want to know how dominant are the Dodgers going to be is the question. But I guess top of the first, okay, 0-0. So, you know, it'd be a bad thing, I guess, if it was top of the first and Dodgers were up already. It is what it is. But the pitcher for the Raptors, who's playing right now, chat? We do. Hey, yo, shout out to Toronto. Is it Canada night here on the REMINGTOM pod? We got a little Toronto Blue Jays, Toronto Raptors, double TVs. Hey, yo, it is what it is. I guess. Are they playing in? They are playing. Both are playing in Toronto as well. Too. I guess. Hey, you know, 2025. We have professional sports in Canada. Whoa. But you know, do you guys have professional sports technology up there? Hey, yo. But I guess the Toronto Raptors baseball team. Their pitcher's name is Ye Savage. Ye Savage is his last name. So I don't know. Are we gonna be Blue Jays fans for this series? It is what it is. But there is always a highlight as well too, and I forget the guy's name. But if you're ever, of course, on the YouTube rabbit hole of best highlights or something like that, most energetic highlights. Hey, yo, chat, this is gonna be a battle. It is what it is. We may give up easily. We will not put in a lot of work to watch baseball, that's for sure. But there is a highlight that is iconic of some Blue Jays guy hitting a home run, and he like does like a bat flip. That's really cool. Or something like that. So I wish I remember who that guy was. He is an iconic YouTube highlight guy. I don't know if he is a guy that is necessarily like a baseball Hall of Famer per se, but still, an iconic run as well too. So I guess with whatever we're saying about Wemby, incredibly, of course, encouraging offensive stuff. Yeah, we're gonna go to basketball. It is what it is. See if we can fire up another game. We may just throw the Spurs on now. I mean, the problem is the Raptors are actually a feisty team this year. Brandon Ingram, 26-5. I guess a feisty team this year. We're one game into the season. But they did, of course, win their first game. And they are competitive right now here with the Bucks, who, I guess, what were they? The 8th best odds to win the East. So it's not like, I guess they're necessarily in the... can we trust the odds these days, Chad? Who knows? It's not like they're necessarily, I guess the standard-bearing team in the odds. But still with Giannis, a team that is a little bit of a checkpoint. But, still 2.5 minutes here, third quarter. And the Raptors have a 1-point lead, and they've done a good job of, being in the lead for a lot of the game. It is what it is. But... we'll see if Giannis' little fourth quarter takeover is what it takes. But Rollins has looked pretty good for... It's not like Milwaukee has looked bad, per se. So that's why... Per se? I don't even know if we use that right there. But, perchance Milwaukee has not looked that bad. So, again, while Milwaukee is going to be more of a team that kind of probably guts out some of these wins, and Giannis just has incredible performances, and can the role guys play to a certain level? But, again, they are a certain... level of competitive teams, so you are going to want to play good against them as well too. But between Rollins and Kuzma and Bobby Portis, it's going to be a fine line to see what happens. I mean, AJ Green as well too. Cole Anthony, it's really like Cole Anthony and Ryan Rollins are kind of like the second best. And Kevin Porter Jr. We can't forget about our guy Kevin Porter Jr. Do we have to double check? Is he still on the Bucks? But those are literally their best creators, and Kuzma outside of Giannis. So that is tough, chat. That is tough. Do we need to check out the NBA's red zone coverage and see what's going on there? I don't know. Ooh, we may. Chat, little play-by-play for us switching the channels. We may switch Raptors Bucks to this TV. And then go Spurs on the other one. I think it's time, chat. Spurs versus Pelicans. Zion's out there. Oh, Dylan Harper is checked into the game. Oh, chat. It might be the perfect time right now because Dylan Harper could be an impact guy as well, too. I mean, Steph Castle, chat. People are upset that Chauncey Billups is like, Chauncey Billups is taking storylines away from Wembanyama. First off, it's like, hey, that's kind of a good thing. It's one game. I don't know if we want, we do want everybody, obviously, to praise Wemby for his awesome performances, but we don't want to jinx Wembanyama as well too. It's like, we need this guy to stay healthy. We need, this is still a long season. Like, let's not start anointing him the best player in the league and then set ourselves up for some crazy disappointment here. If it's okay to just kind of watch from the side and be like, oh yeah, this is some crazy stuff happening over here, at least to start, and then once we open All-Star game voting, once we get into the NBA Commissioner Cup, what's the name of the in-season tournament? Once we get into the in-season tournament, then, of course, competitive basketball, we can start talking about how impactful Wembanyama is as a player at that point. But we just need eyebrows raised, at this point. Hey, what's going on with Wemby? Again, there's going to be... So, we're not trying to, again, stomp on the praise of our guy here. That's going to be our franchise cornerstone. But, again, we're just like, maybe this is going to be something that actually is something this year. Because, again, it's not just Wemby. Like, Castle was... Like, Wemby and Castle, they might be the best offensive... They're the best offensive duo in the league. They may be the best defensive duo, center, guard, wing, or, however you want to kind of classify Castle, because he can kind of guard a lot of players, but they might be the best in the league. And again, Castle, shout out, like, he did do a really good job against Cooper Flagg, making life difficult for him. Be like, Cooper Flagg, at least it does show you the difference, of course, the NBA stuff, because I guess Cooper Flagg could have gone out there and had a great game as well too. And I guess we'll get back to Castle in a moment. But that was another great thing about Wemby is it does feel like there have been and he's had his games as well too, where like, he had that game against Jokic where he went out there and cooked and, kind of could have cost him a finals, honestly. Is kind of one of those ripple effects in history where messed with their seeding, messed with their playoff path, and all of a sudden, now maybe Denver's not having the playoff success they would want to have. But that season opener against Lively still kind of stings a little bit where it's like, Wemby's had some of these moments to have some games, and, Lively kind of stole his thunder there. There was and that's a center matchup as well too. So for him to really destroy a center like Davis, and then the team impact on top of that to them get the win and the improved just roster that they have as well too definitely showed. And again, are the Mavs the best team in the league this year? As well, no. But there is I guess if you go, there's a lot to process from this first game, Chad. It is what it is. It's like, what is this season going to be? What is Wemby going to be? But I guess just from that playoff standpoint as well too, like we kind of have to make the playoffs this year because, again, from a talent standpoint, between Wemby and Castle and Harper, like they should be able to get enough wins over some of these other lower tier Western Conference teams that, like, if we miss the play-in, like that would actually kind of be disastrous. And I'm not saying that we should be top 6. I guess 1-0, hot start. But so like the Jazz at 1-0, are the Jazz going to be a playoff team? We'll see. But like the Spurs definitely should be better than the Jazz. They should be better than Phoenix. Phoenix has got some vets. Shout out to Booker and Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. But Wemby is better than all those guys, hopefully. So, Booker is still great as well, too. But between Phoenix, New Orleans, Utah, Sacramento, Portland, and then even Dallas is on the border there as well, too. Like, they definitely have to be better than those teams and get into that play-in race, and then maybe even a little bit, maybe a top 8 seed where it's like old school playoffs is, just that sort of stature is good as well too for the vibes of the team. And then that Dallas, LA tier, even we haven't mentioned Memphis, Minnesota, Golden State obviously has won a couple of pretty impressive games. But I guess from a regular season standpoint, they could just be a powerhouse regular season team as well, too. Playoffs, again, I guess we'll see. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But, Spurs versus Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. What are we previewing here? I guess, there's OKC just sitting there. But, and who's got Spurs, Chad? Plus 33 point differential leading the league? I mean, the dominance in one game is definitely shown. That's for sure. But, yeah, outside of, and I guess it is a little bit of the offensive stuff as well, too. Because you could say that, to go back to the defensive stuff, maybe like Gobert and Edwards could be a better defensive combo than Wemby and Castle. But for Gobert, offensively, his limitations are going to lend him to being iffy in some certain playoff spots. And I guess maybe like peak of his powers, maybe Ja and Jaren Jackson as well. But Jaren Jackson's more of a help side, blocker. I don't know if he's the same type of defender that Wemby is. Hot take. So, Davis and Cooper Flagg do have a chance to get there as well, too. But Cooper Flagg, of course, is going to need a little bit of time to develop. And, Miami just doesn't have really, I guess, Davion Mitchell and Bam as well, too. But, again, on the flip side of the defensive, offensively, what Wemby and Castle are capable of is able to outweigh any of the defensive combo guard center duos that are in the league right now at this point. So there is a pretty good ceiling there if, again, Castle is really looking like this guy as well too, because his ability to get downhill and finish strong at the basket was pretty impressive in that game. Because again, the Mavs are a good team with the front court lineup there and a good test for driving into the paint and trying to get some of those tough looks because they're just a difficult team, again, in that front line. And with Harper actually being, again, a rotation guy, that's a really impactful rotational skill set, even if there is a couple of levels to unlock for him. And it is a good set of veterans, as like Barnes in a little bit more of a reduced role, but still can be, kind of a selective shot maker or a 3-and-D wing type of guy. Of course, Cornette is an impact guy. And then Vassell and Johnson, who, were originally like supposed to be the core guys around Wembanyama. Like that, the team was, hey, what is Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell if they have this sort of anchor center guy in the middle here and the offensive stuff as well too, to help change up their games a little bit. Like they may be able to be the 2 and the 3 guy in a really competitive team. And now all of a sudden Vassell's scoring is a little bit more street, like he can just kind of focus on that a little bit. And then Johnson, of course, in a bench role, more prototypical 3-and-D kind of role. Like it just kind of makes a little bit more sense for those guys as well too, if Castle and Harper ascend up to the levels that we think that they're going to get to. And, again, just like Castle and Wemby being sort of a first and second guy as well too, kind of help the hierarchy of the team shuffle out a little bit. But yeah, I guess, what we were saying, the Billups stuff overshadowing Wemby, but I think the Wemby stuff overshadowing Castle as well too was a little bit of a factor there. And Kuzma, chat, limping off the court for Milwaukee. Milwaukee fans bummed to start the year. I don't know if it's like is Kuzma done? But at least for this game, down 3, 11 minutes in the fourth. You need Kuzma, so more Cole Anthony minutes. Taurean Prince, Bobby Portis, more Bobby Portis. Is Giannis going to play every minute this season? He might, chat, because that was one of the things about, Denver at least collecting a couple guys in the bench. Like, okay, maybe Valanciunas can run a little bit of offense if Jokic is not on the court. And Jokic can at least take a breather. I don't know if necessarily Jokic and Valanciunas is going to be like Jokic can play with anybody. But, I don't know if that's going to be a lineup that you're going to be rolling out there in the playoffs. But, again, 82-game regular season, Jokic can take a couple of breaks over the course of it, and he doesn't just have to completely carry the team. Like, maybe Valanciunas could sustain this a little bit. Like we're saying, Milwaukee doesn't really have that this year. That's Cole Anthony for him is going to be, hey, Giannis is I guess Cole Anthony's going to be like, well, I guess Giannis is on the bench. It's my team now. I'm going to have to try to create some offense here. But he's not necessarily wrong as well, too. Taurean Prince, like at least there is a confidence factor with some of those guys that, I don't know if you'd want Taurean Prince and Cole Anthony to be carrying a team, but again, they have no choice. This is who is out there. So, hey, yo, who is, we got the first who is this check, chat? Hey, yo, for the Raptors, we got to figure out who this guy is. Number 77? Hey, yo. So I don't think that's like a first round draft pick type number. Is it this battle character here that's 3 for 3? It might be. Here, do we have numbers if we just go to the box score? Because that's on the court, so unless we're a little bit behind and they subbed him out. I don't know. But, no, Jamison Battle. Okay. I would say Jordan Battle, Jackie Battle. Aren't those like safeties in the NFL? No, Jamison Battle. Whoa, Ohio State chat. Okay, that's why we don't know that we're not watching Ohio State basketball. Hey, yo. It is what it is. No shout out to the Buckeyes. You go blue. But at least his impact in the NBA is okay in the first couple of minutes. We'll say he's been impressive to start. Quickly get into the basket, chat. They've got score. The supporting cast, make the mistake. You put Giannis in Toronto. I mean, it might be the best team in the East. So maybe we should have, a little more supporting cast rankings. I guess, it's not like we weren't not focused on that in ranking some of these teams. But, of course, they just didn't have the star-level player. But night to night, in the regular season, can you get a bunch of wins, just the competitiveness of the 5 guys and playing really tough with the defense and the fact that you do have, again, some independence for some of these guys in a shot-making standpoint where, the variability for guys to get going on certain nights, you're probably going to have a shot maker or two that is, smooth on offense on a given night or not. Giannis getting to the basket, chat, with ease, and then the Raptors turning it over. At least they're able to stop the fast break. But, hey, yo, they're making sure Milwaukee stays in the game. Great job for them there. Oh, Wemby, the fall-away 30-footer at the buzzer at the end of the shot clock does not go. So not maintaining the same sort of heat check from that Mavs game. But, again, that's just sort of the glimpses as well, too. That's the checkpoint that he needed to hit by year 3. Definitely. And I think Legler was saying on the broadcast about Castle that you're supposed to take your biggest sort of skill jump as a player in year 1 to year 2, and I mean, it makes total sense. But I don't know, year 2 to year 3 is that different level sometimes of skill jump as well too, where you can actually, like, now it's like, oh man, is Wemby legitimately one of these impactful guys? And now, like we're saying as well too, you have another year. If the team is building in the right direction, another year to figure some of that stuff out as well too. Another offseason is definitely not going to hurt. Oh, is that Fears, chat? Hey, yo, a nice little one-legged, I guess, push off there, call an offensive foul? I don't know. But, and hey, yo, I don't know if we're supposed to be rooting for the other team here, but, good shot. I know that Fears is a highly drafted guy that I think is maybe a little forgotten in some of the first-round discourse, and especially when you're a little, do we say one-dimensional as a player? Kind of a score-first guy, and, we'll see how that, of course, is able to, impact a greater team. But maybe that takes a couple of years to get going, and then if you don't have the other skills as well, too, to be on the court, it's like what is going to happen just in terms of what the value of that pick looks like initially. And, if his scoring, again, is just that spark plug scoring enough early on, then, again, it's like, oh, they really were, there is something here with this guy that is a valuable pick. So again, I'm not saying, again, we're going to be a little bit more, I guess, pessimistic about our own team. Optimistic about other teams. It is what it is. But we also, we like to be optimistic as well, too, at times. We can balance it out. A bipolar fan. It is what it is. But, yeah, we do, I guess, it's not necessarily to say that Fears is, I guess, the expectations. It's like, is he going to be the best player in the league? So, are we a little nervous? Like, that's a tough spot for Wembenyama to get to. We're not doubting him. But, can Fears be an impact guy? I think is a little bit more of a vague, broader threshold that, and again, we can make, it's like, if we do a redraft and it's like, oh, he's the 20th guy in a redraft, it's like, hey, it's still a decent pick. I know it may be a little off in the greater list, but it's not like it was a total, it's not like it was as bad as missing that Cole Anthony 3 right there. Hey, yo, airball. I mean, shout out, Milwaukee's able to get the lead back by 4. Little Ryan Rollins dap up, Chad. Good, Ryan Rollins checking the good teammate check. Hey, yo. Is Milwaukee going to trade him? Is he even tradable? I don't know. But, yeah, well, we're going to keep an eye on Wemby here, I guess, in the second quarter, obviously. Just having the lead, getting some wins here, Chad. We'll see. We need to get some wins if we're going to be that, top 6 seed in the West. But I don't think it's impossible. Because, again, I think Castle could legitimately be a top 50 guy in the league this year. He's 3 for 5 to start. He leads the team in points. So, and again, Wemby, as a shot maker, maybe he is a little night to night. Like, I guess, hey, yo, is he got the upside level raised this year? Like, that's true. Is he going to be, speaking of Kevin Durant, is he going to be Kevin Durant level consistent where Wemby's a 50, 40, 90 guy this year? Maybe Wemby's like 40. I guess here, what are his percentages? We'll look that up. That would be a good percentage threshold in our minds. Just just as fans projecting a random number, what we want, like, I would want to say, and again, as a 7.5 footer, you'd hope that he would be over 50% from the field at some point. But year 3 will give him a little bit of leeway there. Maybe 48% from the field. So hey, he's 71% right now. Shout out. Yeah, so he was 47.6% last year, and that is with 35% from 3. So that's 58% from 2s. So if he was over 60% from 2s and then 37% from 3, I mean, he's 50% from, is 1 for 2. I mean, I guess that's perfect. 1 for 2. Honestly, if he's 32% from 3 again, but it's out of 2 attempts a game, then obviously that's much more manageable than what was he at? Jay, he was at 8.5. He was at almost 9 attempts a game last year. Like, that is insane. So he is, a guy that is a very versatile talent, and hopefully that the three-point element becomes a consistent part of his game, and it's like, oh, there's not a spot on the floor that you can't worry about him, or, that he's not going to be a fearful player from, or, again, just like end of the shot clock. If he's got to bail a team out from 28 foot, it's like, yeah, he's going to be able to make that shot because he is a good scorer, but not 8.5 times a game just jacking up threes. So you got to give respect to the Mitch Johnson as well too, and the coaching staff for making sure that he is going to be properly deployed on offense, I guess, if there's a better way to say it. Because, again, that is a thing that could just be sort of, Wemby as the lead guy. Maybe he's let to do his own thing a little bit. Franchise guy. We don't want him requesting a trade in year 4, right before he's signing that max extension. Is he going to ask a trade to LA or something? Go play with Doncic? Hey, Chad, hopefully we're not reading the future. But, again, Mitch Johnson has proven himself as well, too, as a guy that's able to, and Wemby to be able to, work as part of a team as well, too. But, Johnson as well, too, getting some of the schematics figured out, and the balance of the fact that, again, Castle's maybe not a great three-point shooter as well, too. So if you have Wemby not necessarily wanting to take a ton of threes and then Castle's not 40%, how do you manage the spacing and the cutting and all that different stuff? But, Castle's ability to move without the ball as well, too, is pretty impressive. So, yeah, are we going to be a dominant regular season team? Again, we got, like, OKC. I guess, they're not dominating right now. They haven't even won a game in regulation yet. So I don't even know if they're overrated at this point. But, we still, of course, could, like we're saying, pile up some wins and be a really feared team in the playoffs. And the fact that this team is still so young as well, too. It's just the unlimited potential, I guess, for what ultimately they could be. The pump fake, the drive. The easy dunk. Is somebody on the Pelicans having the under, chat? Whose unders do we need to... Whoa. Maybe we pivot and say something else, chat. Who's betting? Who's props? Who's betting props do we need to start keeping an eye on at this point? Whoa! Is that Saddiq Bey? I mean, Saddiq Bey is going to just take a three, make no mistake. But I guess he is... What's he at right now, chat? Oh, 1 for 1. Okay. Hot start for Saddiq Bey. It just said in the closed captioning, pause, it says Saddiq Bey filling it up. It's like, wait a second, how many points does Saddiq Bey have? But I guess the broadcast getting a little excited as well, too. Saddiq Bey, only 1 for 1 at this point. So, Fears, 2 for 2. No threes is kind of interesting as well. You like to see it, getting in his bag. I mean, again, you want him to be, I guess, as a guard as well, too. Maybe a little bit more perimeter-oriented. And they do love running. This is like an actual thing, chat. The Wemby Castle pick and roll. They were running that a little bit in the Mavs game, and they just ran it again. Wemby took it to the hoop, so, this Pelicans team, Zion, chat, I don't know if we're allowed to do a draft of which players are going to, which players are working for the Gambinos, but is Zion in the, yikes, chat. It could explain a couple things. Like, does Ben Simmons just need to step up and say that he was betting unders the whole time? I don't know, would that save face, chat? I mean, is Ben Simmons is not even playing basketball anymore. So if Ben Simmons got a lifetime ban, make no mistake, it wouldn't change his field goal percentage. It's not moving up. And if he doesn't get the lifetime ban, make no mistake. Trey Murphy for 3. Chat, look out for the Pelicans. Second quarter. But this is going to be a fun game and a different look than the Mavs as well, too. There is athleticism, wing elements, the size they have to deal with. But again, they are a little bit more three-point focused, not quite as intimidating in the front line, but a little bit faster. Maybe their guards are, I don't know what we're thinking about. The Mavs don't even really have guards at this point. So like, what does Wemby look like on defense when he's playing with guards, against guards on the floor? I guess not necessarily that they're gonna be taking on Wembanyama, but it's like, okay, at least there's a little bit more. I guess 2025. What is a standard basketball lineup, chat? Dallas, I mean, they're literally, I know that, I guess I was going to say they're copying Houston. But the thing is, Kidd did have Giannis at point guard in Milwaukee. So there is a chance that maybe just Jason Kidd's not going to be the right coach for this Mavs situation. He just keeps having these wings play point guard. I mean, it's a fun thought. And there is an element of, I guess, yes, to some degree, Giannis is a point guard in Milwaukee. He's going to be initiating a lot of the stuff. But I don't know. There is just a usage percent, a stylistic sort of way that you're going to want to set him up as an initiator more so than just, Giannis just walking the ball up the court every single time. Even though, again, it can definitely get into that lane, especially with this supporting cast. It is what it is. But, with a guy like Davis as well, too, and Cooper Flagg, it's not like he doesn't not need set up a little bit. I mean, they did have good guard play there for Duke as well too. I don't know if I'm not gonna remember the whole roster, but I guess they had Knuppel. Shout out, they had Knuppel, of course, and I mean, shout out to Proctor. Not gonna forget about Proctor. And in college, he is a little bit better point guard as well too. Though I'm thinking of him as more, NBA, the 3-point shooting kind of off ball type of player. But they had guys. And Cooper Flagg from the top of the key, of course, could initiate a lot of stuff as well too. But again, there was a element of setting him up to get him to the top of the key, and then you'd run some offense around that as well too. So having that extra guard initiation is definitely beneficial with a Cooper Flagg led team as well. And Davis always needing that type of guy. I mean, Jason Kidd was in LA with LeBron as well too. So LeBron's obviously the cheat code for this type of stuff. Can LeBron play point guard? And again, to some degree, and I'm sure Cooper Flagg will get there. So it's like, is Jason Kidd going to be a genius in a couple years when Cooper Flagg is able to be a point guard on a team? But I guess maybe even more so importantly than, is it the best way, pause, to use Cooper Flagg? Is it the best way to have him being a productive basketball player right now? And this Mavs team is a little bit win now timeline. So, I mean, I guess, again, to some degree, we did see Pop do this with, like, Sohan last time Pop was out there, Chad. Hey, yo. I mean, we're Spurs. We respect Pop too much. There's jokes that could be made there, chat, but again, shout out to Pop. Hopefully he's doing well. We just love seeing clips of him on the, it's like, hey, Pop's hanging around this facility. It's like good to see him still. And I guess, he's still a part of the team as well too in a more administrative role, but it's still good to see him in the actual on-court environments as well too. But again, he was getting experimental with some of the point guard stuff as well too, and I was like, we don't necessarily have a perfect solution there, so let's at least throw something against the wall, and if it works, then hey, we have this option to go to as well. But maybe again, game 20, if it's not working by game 20, game 15, it's like, okay, Cooper Flagg is still a really productive rookie and able to be impactful on this team, but maybe there's just a better way to get him involved in the lineup as well too. And Cooper Flagg is having a little bit of the Wembenyama right now with VJ Edgecombe, where Lively had that great performance against Wemby. It was like, oh, Lively in the rookie rankings is a little bit better. And I think like Hawkes as well too. Again, like offensively, Hawkes stepped in and had a really good rookie season, and there was one other top rookie guy that year as well too. I'm trying to think. Brandon Miller was good that year as well. But was Hawkes second in rookie of the year voting? But pause behind Wembenyama. I feel like there was one other player. We can double check here. But Edgecombe had like the best offensive debut of any player ever. And again, Cooper Flagg, it was like okay, but Castle is again maybe a second team all defensive guy by the end of the year as well too. So it's like okay, maybe it makes a little bit of sense why Cooper Flagg was having a tough time adjusting in game 1. But Chet, that's right, because Chet had the injury and he was in technically year 2, but still his rookie season. So give him full credit for the season that he had. Definitely competitive in that rookie of the year environment as well too. And Pods, showed up pretty good that year. Lively ended up only with 1 vote just for the entire ballot as well too. Is a little disrespectful for the season he had, but regardless. And I guess Chet as well too early on. There was some stuff where it's like, oh, year 1, are these guys going to be better than Wemby? But obviously by the time we get to the end of the year, now we're actually at that year 3 mark. It's like there's just no way that. And I mean, especially again looking at this draft class, like this is for Cooper Flagg, this is a really good draft class to be in. There's a lot of really good players that are. It's going to be a fun redraft scenario, I guess. Is Cooper Flagg going to be obviously the number 1 guy? We hope so, but. Just the rest of it, it's going to be competitive to see where the list shapes out to. But who is even at this point still maybe Brandon Miller, but again, just with the two-way dynamics of somebody's got like Hawkes might still actually be the 3rd best player in the class, and there's just really not necessarily a comparison at this point between Hawkes and Wemby. With all respect, Case and Wallace, just in terms of who's going to be playing the most minutes, going over. Oh, Kumara, chat? Like, oh, and Amen Thompson. Ayo, we're not considering Amen Thompson. But there was a little Amen Thompson versus Wemby stuff. And for me as well, Tuesday, is Amen Thompson going to figure out some offensive stuff before Wemby's going to figure it out, where he is, from a guard wing standpoint, almost as disruptive as a defender as Wemby is. And if his attacking the basket is something that can be a go-to thing, and he's just athletically unstoppable, and again, it's like, okay, we're off this offseason where Wemby is just being the super perimeter-oriented player and not necessarily the type of offensive, like we're just saying, it's just like a weird offensive game. Then maybe there is a path where Amen Thompson is actually the number one guy in the class if he is trending in the right direction. But again, after this game, it's like, once again, it's like, you know, what are you going to do? Wembanyama is just by far the more intriguing talent at this point and starting to produce. And he is already, hey, yo, chat, for the draft class going into the, I guess, a year and a game played, 3,600 points, 20 or minutes, 3,600 minutes, 2,600 points, 1,200 rebounds. So, hey, yo, is nobody else in the class? I guess Hawkins, a bunch of guys in the points as well too, but the only one over even 2,000, I guess him and Miller. Who else is? Oh, George. Him and, oh yeah, here we go. Wemby. I guess we could just sort chat. We don't need to try to make it difficult. Yeah, Wemby and Keontae George right now are the only two players in the class with 2,000 points through 3 years. And Brandon Miller's had some game played, or some game played stuff as well too. So per game, 18.4. He's not super far behind at this point. But then, yeah, drops to 14.8. Scoot at 13. Again, Amen Thompson's right there as well too. But Wemby's double on the value over replacement player, almost 4 times. Over, like, if Case and Wallace is actually the number 3 player in the redraft, again, this is a fun draft class. Case and Wallace, Kamara, that's a fun argument, chat. Asar Thompson could be really good. I guess Vucevic as well too. We'll see what kind of talent he develops into, but it'll be a little bit easier for Wemby to navigate the 23 draft class than it will be for Cooper Flagg. That is for sure. And again, Harper is having to sort of be in the mix as not having to be the number 1 guy on the team, which is good for him. But just in terms of numbers, production, hype, all that different stuff, like maybe it's a little bit behind some of these other guys, even if he is, again, like talent-wise, up there with these guys as well too, which again, I would say like adds to the depth of the draft class as well too. But I mean, we know how Ace Bailey looked in the preseason. Fears, Johnson, Malawach, Murphy Boyles. Hey, yo, I don't know if he's been out there much for the Raptors tonight, but with the way that they're playing, he would probably fit in pretty good. And I wouldn't say that they wouldn't, with the guard play that they have and a lot of the perimeter scoring and stuff figured out, his playmaking and defense could be pretty valuable there for sure. I guess Asenyu, we'll see. I don't know if there's been a lot of hype on the Asenyu bandwagon at this point. Oh, Derek King. Is he injured? I don't know what happened there. Did we double check on the Basketball Reference? It doesn't look like it's given us any injury updates at this point. So shout out to Derek Queen. I don't know why we would have thought that, but maybe we're just trying to find a reason for why he's not out there. You trade 2 first-round picks, and I don't know, game 3, maybe he should be playing a little bit. Oh, there we go. 2 for 4, 4 points. Okay, chat. We're back in. Pelicans, they know what they're doing. They know what is up. Was this David Griffin that made this move? Oh, Dumars. That's right. Dumars made this trade. Dumars knows what he's doing, chat. Derek Queen is the future of the Pelicans. Derek Queen and Zion is really the only way you can stop Wembanyama. I don't know if anybody else knows that, but there is one way that to stop a guy as dominant as Wembanyama, and it's Derek Queen apparently. We haven't actually seen him match up, but I don't know. Why else would they be trading for him? I guess because he could be really good as well too. We got to give him some credit. But Spurs winning on the second chance points as well. Queen, I guess, for a center, I don't know if we saw his fault, but I don't know if rebounding was his main thing. He was a little perimeter oriented as well. Zion can definitely be a good rebounder, though. I don't know if he's necessarily been that in the NBA from a numbers standpoint. And again, just kind of where he finds himself on the court, not necessarily in the spot for rebounds as well, too. But, hey, yo, we haven't even seen really Carter Bryant for San Antonio as well. So there is some depth here to this bench where, you know, we've already seen it. Like we're saying, De'Aaron Fox isn't even out there. Hey, yo, we're talking about Carter Bryant. Like, De'Aaron Fox, hey, yo, chat, forget what we said. The Spurs definitely got to be a top 6 team. With De'Aaron Fox, there's almost no way that that's 3 top 50 guys potentially. And then 4 if we're saying down the road, you know, Dylan Harper's a top 50 guy. But, yeah, hey, yo, again, no disrespect, but we're just hyped up about the last couple years of draft class as well, too. Like, even Houston, we could have a better regular season record than Houston. I don't know if that'd be crazy to say at this point. We're definitely jinxing all this stuff as well, too, with the amount of hope that we have for this season. But, yeah, from a talent roster standpoint, I mean, and, you know, again, just sort of the one game overreaction to what we've seen of maybe effort levels and preparedness and comfortability of guys and all the different stuff. But comfortability of guys, ayo, chat, I don't know. But, you know, like we're saying, I don't know if any of these teams outside of Denver and Houston below them in the power rankings right now, I would necessarily expect to jump up. And that even includes LA. Like, even if they get LeBron back and, hey, yo, chat, bring on LeBron. Is that what we're saying? As Spurs fans, maybe. And LeBron and Luka would be pretty terrifying, but I don't know if we would necessarily be worse than that team. Like, we do have guys to throw at Luka, and again, is LeBron going to have an easy time attacking the basket with Wemby and those mid-range stuff as well, too? Like, he's just going to be a menace in all those areas that LeBron is going to want to attack the court. So, I guess Minnesota as well, too. But there's 3, chat. And that is really the last team as well. It's Denver, Houston, and Minnesota. They're like, who should definitely maybe jump up over San Antonio? In the definitely maybe category, it would be those 3 teams. The preseason, we would still hold out hope that they could after one game. It would be those 3. And I guess, you know, again, for Minnesota at this point, it's just the little tiebreakers in the stats, both of them at 1 or 0. Not much so far on the season. But, hey, yo, hot start for the Spurs. It's looking good. Victor Wembanyama and Daniel Jones, chat. Who would have thought? I mean, you know, a couple of years ago, we definitely would have been like, yeah, Victor Wembanyama. But I wouldn't have thought that, you know, we were prepared, chat, for it to be Richardson and Wembanyama. That was our core group of sports guys we were going to be cheering for the next decade. We had our quarterback, we have our franchise guy, and we do have our quarterback and our franchise guy. It's still Wemby, but it's Daniel Jones is our franchise quarterback. So I don't know, we're giving him we're locking him in right now, 10 years, give him the Mahomes contract. But at least for this year, you know, we know that we're going to be probably a pretty competitive team if we continue to play this way. Again, just the vibes have been good as well, too. So we're not the worst vibes team in the league anymore. Is honestly a fun thing. I can be a little bit of a cold-blooded, like I'm saying, I don't know, pessimistic or just unemotional, I guess emotional, but you know, a little bit of a cold sports fan where it's like, you know what, if we're not going to win the Super Bowl, we got to tank. We got to get the number 1 pick. We got to go get a quarterback. We cannot be mid. But, and again, the Colts aren't necessarily mid this year, make no mistake. It's like, wait a second, should the Colts win the Super Bowl? But even if we're in the playoff landscape, not necessarily the number, you know, we're not the undeniable top tier, you know, maybe we're still not totally winning everybody over from a trust standpoint at this point. It's like, you know, Daniel, we'll still need to see at least maybe one wildcard game before we totally buy in. But again, it's not like we're bad. It's not like the vibes are bad. So the coach, there is some things that it's like, okay, we have some pieces going forward. Maybe the coach and the system and that stuff could be figured out a little bit if there's still some bigger picture personnel things. And Tyler Warren as well, too. Shout out. You got to love having Tyler Warren on the roster. Poole drawing a foul. Hey, yo. Vassell getting a little feisty with Poole there. So the Spurs still maintaining their 3-point lead. But the Pelicans are going to be like we're saying, I don't know if they're going to be able to close games this year. It'll be tough for them. You know, we'll see against some of these star players who's able to step up for New Orleans. But like I said, they do have talent. I guess if it's like Trey Murphy is all of a sudden just totally the crunch time guy for him and is conducting all the stuff and a go-to scorer, then, there you go. They really would solve some problems. But if it's going to be that Jordan Poole and Chat, Zion, it is what he is at this point. Zion and Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. I don't know if that's a fair comp both ways, but they kind of feel like they're both in a little bit of the same range where we hold out hope that they can hit the level that we thought, but I don't know if we necessarily think it's going to be for a season. It would just be like, is the team going to be good enough to get them to the playoffs, and then maybe Zion has like a playoff moment like he had in the play-in game against the Lakers, or just gets hot for a couple months in the end of the season. Poole, he skirts around Cornette, but he's not able to get the layup to go. Cornette, Chad, he's always contesting. It is what it is. He makes it life difficult, even if it's on a jump shot. Wemby, the follow-through, the follow-up on the missed layup on the other end, just continuing to dominate second chance points. I think it's Saddiq Bey at the 5 right now for New Orleans. So they're trying to run small. The Spurs are punishing them with size. We've got Cornette and Wembanyama at the same time. Vassell, Harper, Keldon Johnson. So Harper is, definitely not a small point guard as well too. But Wemby, the back tap on on the rebound, pump fake dribble. Is he going to get the foul call? New Orleans wants the over the back, but I don't even know how you call over the back on Wemby. It's just he's going to be over everybody's back because it's just his arms are so long. But that one's pretty aggressive though, I guess. If you're kind of leaned up on the player, if the offensive player though is like backing up the box out, and it's like the defensive player is trying not necessarily to go over the back, but it's the offensive player just again kind of aggressively boxing out. I don't know if that is necessarily, well, it is if the offensive player does, and it can be over the back. But for bias in defending our guy Wemby, I don't know if it is. That's all I'll say. So Milwaukee up 7 with 53 seconds left. They might claim a win here. A big Eastern Conference win, playoff series type win. I don't know, Milwaukee versus Toronto in a playoff series. Who do we trust? Giannis misses a free throw. I guess we don't trust Milwaukee to close out playoff games anymore. Not after, unfortunately, last year. Doc Rivers survives, chat. He's just like, he'll be back like nothing happened. Just be on the sidelines again, shout out, hanging out, ready to take them to another 3-game series lead and see what happens from there. Zion in transition. Wemby doesn't want any part of it. Zion with the little bit of a bully ball finish, taking it aggressively to the basket. I mean, I get, and Zion, we're talking a little here, chat. We're saying Zion's in the Trevor Lawrence territories. I don't know if he's got an earbud in listening, but I will say, unlike Trevor Lawrence, like Zion full steam in transition, it's still a scary thing. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence has like I'm scared of this aspect of Trevor Lawrence's game. Like there is still that overall, it's like, okay, somewhere in there's the talent for him to make some throws that he's made in the past, and he'll tap in every now and then. But Zion, full head of steam, just him and Wemby there, like that's still a pretty tough spot. As good as Wemby is, and I think the thing is like, okay, I actually don't know if Zion does have the sort of, and I mean, we still have a whole second half here for him to prove me wrong. I don't know if he necessarily has the perfect sort of dunk over Wembanyama athleticism that he once had, which is a bummer as well too. For a guy at this point in his career, it's not like he should be so far off of where he was at athletically, but the strength that he has and the hang time, body control stuff, like he can still glide, he can still run pretty good, so he's still a pretty terrifying character. The handle though, a little weak on that one. Another 3 though for Saddiq Bey. So their perimeter game has definitely been strong in this one so far. Shout out Saddiq Bey, a consistent vet. I don't know if he's necessarily a leave him open type guy, but Zion getting the help that time as well too, starting to create stuff for his teammates. Is this one of those, hey, remember, keep an eye on what Zion did in this game. And maybe actually Zion gets tradable again, because I think that would actually make Zion tradable. And we're not saying that we need the Pelicans to trade him, but maybe we need Zion in a new territory as well too, or just a new environment, because if he does continue to if he just is this type of guy, it's like, yeah, then that, and, again, with all due respect to Zion's game, that's sort of, hey, I don't know. I don't know if we're overusing that phrase to the point where it's like, but, he is maybe not necessarily carrying the same sort of number one player value that he had in the past. And I think for the Pelicans, there was them sort of holding out that hope that, well, if he is going to go somewhere and just transform into this guy, then he might as well be here. And if he can't be that transformative guy, here, then he can't be it anywhere. But maybe he is more a number 2 guy on a title team at this point, kind of, like we're saying, terrifying downhill offensive player. Like, I'm kind of scared to say this. Like, I don't know if we put him in the Julius Randle tier at this point, of like, that's where he's kind of hovering in terms of impact right now. But if they're looking at him and going, okay, Julius Randle, then he actually does become tradable, but in a good way as well too, where established, I guess the point being, an established value in a way, established player value would be good for Zion, because we just haven't know what it is. He's been more valuable to the Pelicans because of whatever that upside is, and you just were never going to get enough for him in a trade to justify that. And if he would have, like we're saying, ever turned into the version of Zion that we thought, it would have just been too disastrous to have gotten like 2 first-round picks for him, and all of a sudden he's taken another team to the title. It really would have been, it had the potential, of course, to be one of the worst trades. And he does look, slim and in shape and really good in this game as well too. So like I'm saying, this is just we got to talk this out as well too, to, I guess, reach a good conclusion. It is what it is. But there is like, okay, this is who Zion is as a basketball player. He is one of the 60 to, 60 might be a little low, but there's just a lot of guys now as well too. So like when De'Aaron Fox returns, like, would we trade De'Aaron Fox for Zion? Like, again, there is a different style of player there, and there is a physicality that Zion may have that wins the day. If you're especially thinking like, okay, he's going to be the 4th option in San Antonio, and again, for San Antonio, it's like those other guys that are maybe taking Fox's spot are also guards. So, it gets into obviously team-specific scenarios like that as well too. But maybe, like we said, other teams know what they're getting with Zion, that trade value gets established, and the Pelicans don't necessarily have to feel like they're losing like a franchise player. And point being, I do want to see Zion in more important basketball. And I don't know if it's going to be like, Zion, put him on the post, face of the league, Zion Williamson carrying a team against, Giannis or Jalen Brunson in the final. Who's going to be in the finals in the East this year? Is it going to be 2 Western Conference teams in the finals? It might. But Shea versus Zion is now the battle in the Western Conference. Again, I don't know if it'll get to that level, but if it's like, whoa, all of a sudden, I guess, San Antonio, if we don't add Giannis, maybe the Zion stuff does become realistic, where it's like, okay, 2 firsts is still a little much, but there's a protections on maybe a first and a swap and a couple contracts, obviously, to make it work. And, I don't even know if there would be a first. As again, I just, maybe the value is unestablished. I don't know. But I do think that he is a guy that would, at this point, start looking a little bit more attractive to other teams as well, too. Again, there's a commitment level as well, too, that is there. You can see it. You can see the offseason work. Like I'm saying, pause. But he looks good. He looks definitely slimmer, and there's it is what it is. There's a muscularness there. There's a thickness, chat. We're just leaning in at this point. It is, like we're saying, it is what it is. Milwaukee up 6, 15 seconds. Can we get a couple of miracle threes? Brandon Ingram gets the first one. Nope. Front rim. Terry Rozier. Every time it goes, the shot is an air ball or like a short shot now, chat. It's the Terry Rozier. It is what it is. He's did it to himself. Pause. He made it iconic, and he made like $600,000 out of it. So hopefully it'll be all worth it at the end of the day. But yeah, I guess shout out to Zion. Or, like, speaking of Julius Randle, if Zion went to Minnesota, like, that'd be an interesting team where it's like, whoa, Zion, Minnesota, Zion and Golden State, like, that could be, and, Kuminga has looked really interesting, like, maybe Zion's in a territory where you start thinking about those types of moves, and there was a world where a couple of years ago you're like, oh, well, I don't know if Kuminga's going to hit the franchise levels that Zion could, so And even Zion on Golden State is obviously, Butler and Steph. With Zion, that could be obviously pretty scary. Hey, yo, Zion and Draymond. But, okay, maybe Kuminga actually, from a creator standpoint, sort of weighing his value, maybe there is a versatility that he has. You have a lot of those guys already, too, as well. So, again, maybe that's not the perfect trade. But I guess, keep an eye on Zion. Maybe this is actually the year, chat. Hey, yo. Because they do also, like we're saying, have a bunch of other pieces as well, too, that maybe they do feel like they need to go in a different direction in the way they build this team. And if they want to make it a little bit more focused on Trey Murphy, or a little bit more focused, Trey Murphy and Fears, and I guess, who else do they have there, Chad? Who else is the core of that team? I guess it is Zion, so whoever else is in that trade. Hey, yo. Because I guess otherwise you're building around Poole at that point. So if you're going to build around Jordan Poole, maybe building around Zion is the move. I don't know. But, hey, yo, shout out Milwaukee getting the win there. We had to switch games for this one. Spurs Pelicans goes into halftime. Do we go Grizzlies Heat, chat? Wizards Mavs? Oh, the league is just too good. Wizards Mavs. I actually want to really watch this Wizards. I don't even know if the Mavs are actually, like we said, we don't even know if they're good at basketball. They may be competitive. I don't even know if they're fun to watch. They're not going to be fun to watch until Cooper Flag is fun to watch, especially if Davis is kind of mid. They're up by 5 right now. Okay, chat, screw it. We're watching the Wizards. Maybe, like we said, we watch them early while they're competitive. Is that Trey Johnson getting to the basket, Chad? He's taking the looks, make the mistake. Oh, back out to 3, Vucevic. Not able to get it to go. Okay, the Wizards unafraid. Dallas, you got to give them respect. We'll be in our Zach Lowe bag here. The jersey court aesthetic for Dallas is pretty. Gray court's going to win the day, Chad. If we're going to DM the Spurs one thing at this point, it'd be get a gray court. Hey, yo, maybe we would have, DM'd them with a couple of trades a year or two ago. But right now we're like, hey, no, keep everybody around. Castle, Harper, this is the team. Fox, just get us a gray court for these guys to play on so we can be, really one of the destination teams in the league. Cooper Flag, movement 3. You can see the relocation, though. That is a good look in terms of the little give and go. There was good closeout there by the defender for sure. But he is, I guess, in game 2. Like we're saying, it'll take him a couple games, of course, to get comfortable. Oh, you got to finish the layup, chat. Hey, yo. I think he was expecting a little bit more contact there than he got. It's the Cooper Flag show in the second quarter. Oh, no, chat. Cooper Flag. The Gambinos got to him. He's 0 for 3 in the last 90 seconds. Hey, yo. What is Cooper Flag's stat line? Okay, the claps and frustration there. I don't know. Whoa. I don't know if we saw Terry Rozier have those or not. I don't think we would see that. If his clapping for frustration. But in terms of Cooper Flag, walking on the sideline there, shaking his head, not looking too impressed with the performance. So here, can we get a read on the stat line so far? I mean, again, shout out to Cooper Flag. 1 for 5, 1 for 3 from 3-point line. 2 rebounds, 3 assists, though. So, again, second quarter, working his way through the stat sheet there. Lively with a little 6 and 4. And I didn't, we were kind of catching up on some of the rosters in the Crash Course episode we did before the NBA season started. Hey, yo, it's like we got to catch up on some of these teams. But Nembhard on Dallas, watching that Spurs game. Again, not Nembhard from the Pacers. It's not like they traded for him. But his brother, it was like, okay, that is maybe a veteran guy they can use. And it was one of those sort of, and, I don't know if he's actually the better Nembhard. Hey, yo. But it was like, okay, sort of the Tyus Trey Jones thing there for a while. It's like, okay, is Tyus Jones the better player in the NBA? And he's like the 6th man, and Trey Jones is maybe a little farther down the rotation on his respective team where, Nembhard on this team is like the 7th, 8th man. I guess, what is he, the 9th man right now on Dallas? Like, that's actually kind of interesting. I guess -7 tonight. We'll see. Does he have any turnovers? No turnovers. Okay, he's got a rebound. So that's positive. Davis, 10 points plus 11. I mean, cooking the Wizards, no surprise there, Chad. You love to see it. Davis, I just hope he makes an all-star in Dallas. Has a couple of good years where it's like, I don't know if he's going to lead this team to a title. I think that's going to be up to Cooper Flag at this point. But, just keep the stats up. Keep the basketball reference page looking clean for a couple seasons. And it's like, okay, maybe it goes on the team building stuff outside of that more so than the trade itself. Because, unfortunately, that's going to live bad for him in maybe the way we were, I don't know, bad for him, but kind of tough in just the fact that he was, of course, the player dealt in that move. But Keshawn George, Chad, hey, yo, 6 for 7 from the field, 15 points to start. So he's got half the Wizards' points. Sarr, 2 for 4, -8. Bub Carrington, -14. Hey, yo. So not what you want to see from the starters, but again, it's a team that's developing, so we'll give him a chance. Cam Whitmore, 0 for 3, but +5. So the defensive impact has definitely been there. But the bench is a little bit more veteran, of course. Bagley, Kispert, Vucevic, Whitmore, I guess outside of Trey Johnson. They've got this, chat. They're good to go. I mean, I guess you can't really get more veteran than McCollum and Chris Middleton. Make no mistake. But I guess it's the Bub Carrington, Alex Sarr, Keshawn George minutes that we're talking about. Though, again, only down 3. We'll give them a chance here. They're really not really even technically. I guess they're losing this game, but, you know, down 3, 9 minutes in the second quarter. It's just, we're just having a game at this point. They're right there. Mavs getting ready to inbound and fire this thing back up. So, yeah, we got Nembhard in the game here. I guess we'll see if he is actually living up to the Nembhard name. Hey, yo. You know, there is, again, a bar that has been... Oh! Driving to the basket. It does get deflected away, though. It was a strong drive. If that help side defender hadn't been there, it would have been a good chance that he got that one to go. But a little one-minded there. Not necessarily looking up too much. Oh, Chizette, who was flying around in transition there for Dallas. Hey, yo, is that Najee Marshall? Was that... Oh, that's PJ Washington. Hey, yo, I was like... that's a Najee Marshall... Like, if it was like guess this player AI type of situation. No, who's going to be barreling down the court and running into somebody? Probably Najee Marshall at some point. But PJ Washington learning from his teammate. Hey, yo. We get the offensive foul in transition. Oh, chat. Tough. It is what it is. But, hey, yo. Do we take a quick break? We'll take a quick break before we dive into this NBA Mafia story. Oh, chat. The Mafia's in the NBA. What a time for high crime. Hey, yo, we've got NBA scandals. We had a heist at the Louvre we didn't even mention. I don't even think that has anything to do with the NBA scandals, but it just feels like another cool crime that was committed around this time, Chad. So we'll be back to break down all the heist movie antics right after this. All right, welcome back in, chat, as we whip around the association on it. Whoa, hey, yo, restart. Hey, yo, welcome back in, chat, as we just, zip around the association on a Friday night. We're just trying to keep up with some NBA basketball. It is what it is. But, speaking of keeping up with NBA basketball, I don't know, NBA basketball, something's going on, chat. Hey, yo, the Mafia is back in the NBA. I feel like we have to start with something. We got to start by clearing our guy Chauncey Billups' name. Hey, yo, chat. We got to clear it. I don't know if he needs us to be his lawyers or not, but there is a couple of different legal battles going on associated to some NBA players, and I think it's clear. It's important that we get clear what the actual troubles are. Hey, yo, chat. Hawks on a 22-5 run here at the end of the fourth quarter. Banchero driving and getting the layup. Tough finish over the Hawks defense. 3-point game. Hawks in the lead. Make that a 22-7 run, I guess. But, yeah, we do have, of course, within the last 24, 48 hours, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones. At least those three names are the most popular. I don't know if there's other, of course, I guess, crime syndicate people getting arrested. But in terms of basketball-related arrests, in terms of a gambling scandal that's going on, those were the three names that have been known to us at this point. And there is some separate situations, like we said, going on here. The Damon Jones, Terry Rozier thing is the sort of players, betting on them, the bets on their player performances, and then the players. It's never on the overs, because it's never like Terry Rozier's like, yeah, bet on me to score plus 15 tonight, and I'm gonna go out there and drop 17. Like, let me make sure it happens. Like, no, let me throw a couple passes into the dirt and make sure that, I guess, or turnovers, not football. But if he starts playing football, that'll really help, I guess, make sure that he gets those unders. But it's players compromising their own performance for the off-court compensation in the gambling world. And the Chauncey Billups thing is rigging poker games, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know where I guess let's actually go with the Terry Rozier side of things first, because that seems to be the more, I guess both are pretty straightforward in what they are. But this is the one that is actually, I think, if we're talking like what is the bad for the NBA, what is the NBA most worried about? It's the Terry Rozier aspect of it, because, again, this is actually directly impacting the product in the court. So I think, you guys kind of see what the obvious flip side of the coin is for the Billups thing, and I don't get too far ahead of the conversation. Like, I guess we're not necessarily sitting here saying that, Billups was in the right. But, again, Rozier is actually compromising the NBA product, and Billups is in just a little bit of a different scenario. So, we had the Jonte Porter thing, of course, famously last season happened, and his suspension, lifetime ban from the NBA with the same sort of things, the massive amounts of people betting the unders on a given day, and then, him going out there and making sure that it happens. So Rozier was, of course, the more interesting angle is the fact that he was cleared by the NBA. And the fact that, the NBA is just in this weird spot right now as well, too, with it's not just the gambling thing that is, of course, becoming a little bit of a problem with some of these players in the league, but it is just another sort of conspiracy element. I guess again, the sort of off-court betting market stuff, like, Donaghy, the ref scandals, like, it's been happening before, I guess, FanDuel was in partnership with the NBA. So it's not just necessarily, again, a FanDuel partnership thing, because it's not like it's a public betting thing either as well, too. Like, that's the part of it that is kind of misunderstood with the Terry Rozier part of it, where, and a shout out to Van Lathan. Hey, yo, we love and, agree with basically everything that Van Lathan says, but on this issue, hey, yo, we have what he said, that you shouldn't be able to bet player props, because that is the type of thing that influences these performances. If you have the ability to bet on whether or not a player can score more or less or have more turnovers or whatever, then, they can control that direct element of the game if you can profit off of it. But again, it's not like it's the public. Everybody is just betting these Terry Rozier unders one day, and then Terry Rozier is like, actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to bet the under myself and go out there. Like, it's, again, there's a little bit more organization going on that has been going on outside of just the modern day as well too. But I was thinking about this, or just the sort of NBA competitiveness watching the opening weekend as well too, because this is, of course, the first full offseason since the Doncic trade. And we get Doncic in LA, just that opening, or, just Doncic opening night on the LA team and the vibes of that. And again, it's not like this is a great LA team, but just having Doncic in LA is, of course, super fun. And watching him he was having like a heat check performance. I mean, he was having, Doncic was having a good game at one point. Hot take. But there was like a heat check moment there, I think at the end of the first half or some point in the second quarter, and the LA crowd was just going crazy. And it's like, this is actually special, having a player of this talent and of this caliber. And again, especially offensively as well too, with the ability to hit these heat check levels in this LA environment. Like, this is crazy. And, LeBron, of course, he's got that balanced superstar sort of vibe to his game where he's, a little bit of everything. But he had those moments in LA where he would have those crazy offensive performances. And it was sometimes on some of those teams where they weren't necessarily the most competitive, but they would just be like these crazy 40 point. There's that one where he had it like right after the Rams won the Super Bowl, and he's like dapping up Stafford and Aaron Donald courtside. We'll reference that game a bunch more times because that was just one of those peak LeBron performer in LA games, and the crowd's just going crazy and he's just hitting crazy shots. And it was you could just feel the specialty of having Doncic in LA in some of those moments. And again, obviously the LA crowd was embracing him last year, but it was that sort of, wait a second, like, we got Doncic, like, what is happening here? And now Doncic is actually like an LA player. And the Mavs, the fact that they got Cooper Flagg on the other side of the deal, it's just like this perfect scenario where it all worked out. And again, Doncic in LA, and that does, I think, legitimately increase the excitement of the league and make those primetime things more watchable. It's like, yeah, maybe the league actually did rig that in a way. And you think about how it went down as well too with Pelinka and Nico Harrison and like these coffee shop meetings, and it's like, okay, I guess that, two buddies talking out a trade is, if we're going like, what is the other possibility? It's like, yeah, that's probably it. But the fact that there could be other pieces involved as well too, and we only know of these two pieces being involved, it's like, I guess, conspiracies, you get into like, would we know at this point? Would somebody write the book? Would somebody have written the book about, here's how we froze the envelope in 85 and got Pat Ewing to the Knicks? It's like, there's too much money there on the table. Somebody's going to cash in at some point. But maybe there is actually like the secretiveness to be able to get all this stuff to work. And it's like, maybe there was, and maybe again, did Silver call Pelinka, or did he call Nico Harrison as like, hey, if you trade Doncic to LA, we'll make sure you get all you have to do is just, if you trade Doncic and get in the lottery, you will get the number one pick. Like, we'll make sure that happens. And it's Cooper Flagg. And it's just the fact that, again, it happens in the Cooper Flagg year as well too, where, maybe it would make more sense. And I guess Doncic is like the extension eligibility, but it might have even made more sense to trade him this year as well, where, you go into the offseason with, of course, Doncic and not having, I guess even Max Christie from I guess they didn't really get much from the trade, but, just not having that number one pick, or the depleted assets around him, and Kyrie hurt, or whatever the other possibilities could be. Like, it could be a grim situation, then another tough start to the year, and we're like, oh yeah, Luka's just requesting a trade himself and leaving Dallas. It would make a ton of sense. And I've seen the highlights from a couple of highlights from Dembasta, and it's like, holy cow, this kid looks amazing. Peterson, Bill Simmons has been talking up Peterson like crazy. And I think he was also talking up Dembasta as well too. So make no mistake, he'll get one of them right if he names all the good players. But it does seem like it's a good draft class as well too. But we all know the hype that Cooper Flagg was entering the league with, and just from the vibe standpoint. So, one of the, like, D'Ambassador Peterson could get there, where Mavs fans would be like, oh, yeah, we got Darren Peterson joining the team. But Cooper Flagg would have been the one type of guy where it's like, oh, you know what? If we were to actually just make a trade, maybe there's a case we would have traded Doncic for the number 1 pick just because of the versus, you could make crazy cases like that just in general. So that was one of those scenarios where I was like, is the league ready? And again, I guess in this scenario, it's not Adam Silver necessarily calling Terry Rozier and being like, hey, make sure you hit those unders because I got the Gambinos. I got a couple of bets in with the Gambinos. I guess that's the Chauncey Billups story. But, it's not like Adam Silver was involved in this side. This is the side, this is actually decreasing the competitiveness of the league, where Cooper Flagg is, Adam Silver's like, we need to do that for the betterment of the league. Whatever's necessary here. This is, the sort of evil villain tactics, I guess, of Adam Silver is secretly using. And, the good guy face that he puts on in all the other aspects of it. But, this is, I guess, just the fishiness in the league. Pause. The sketchiness of the NBA. And I know that it's not like the NFL has never had, the gates as well, too. I guess Belichick being out of the NFL, there's a lot less scandal these days. But, NFL doesn't, of course, I don't think has ever really had the betting thing that the NBA has had. Like, I don't know if they have a Donaghy story or, a series or a game that sort of represents some of the stuff that was going on in those early 2000s, where you look back and go, oh man, like, this is some really interesting stuff. And the way that these games were called, the amount of free throws, and just maybe, hearing people talk about watching the games. Of course, those games are on YouTube, or are they? Like, is the league, deleting them? Like, who knows? But, again, it's just like the idea that people associated with the NBA, whether it's players, whether it's people in the league, are, I guess in a sense, to put it simply, rigging the league, is just not even surprising at this point that it's going on. And, we got two kind of different scenarios. But if you're like, oh yeah, the admins are rigging the league from the top to want certain scenarios, and then the bettors are, if you're telling me the NBA is WWE at this point, I kind of would believe it. And it's just scripted, and the players that don't have the favorable outcomes in the scripts are like, well, I guess I'll just make a couple of bucks on the side because Terry Rozier's looking at it going like, well, hey, the league's not writing me up a title anytime soon. But, regardless, this is obviously a little bit of a tough one for the league to have the players involved like this. And, like we're saying, the scale is going up here. Like, this is a bit of a jump in talent from Jontay Porter to Terry Rozier. So I don't know what the next jump in talent is, but, it's not like these guys, and, this is the one sort of similarity in the Chauncey Billups story, is it's not like these guys are, making so much more money than they're already making. Like, in a way, like, I was seeing some numbers where Rozier was getting like $200K for some of the performances from the rings, from the syndicates, but his salary on his NBA contract was like $300,000 a game. So you're like, okay, well, how much more is he making? But it's like, okay, he, in a sense, if he's making 200 extra K per game, he is doubling his salary. So that is, it does add up. Like, that is you could definitely talk a guy into like, hey, we'll double, we'll pay you extra, I don't even know what the right math term is, but we'll match your salary, and you can have 2 contracts essentially if you don't even try as well too. Like, you can see how that could be a tempting offer. But for a guy, I'm sure that, again, if you ask enough NBA players, I'm sure you could find somebody. It's like, you know what? Sure, I'll take that deal. But again, you ask enough guys, I'm sure it's not just Terry Rozier. Like, did everybody that make the All-Star team in the last 15 years, would they not take that deal? And again, you'd have to up the price as well too. I don't know. We're not going to say names of anybody in this Magic-Hawks game because it's on the screen. We're not going to throw any allegations out there, get a Remington lawsuit. Paolo's like, wait a second, what were you saying? But, if you get, I guess if you had a guy on a max contract, if somebody had the $70 million a year it's not like the $200,000 per game is going to make the deal work. But if you were able to match the salary, like maybe there would be a a star player that would fall for it as well too. And just, maybe this is the thing with the Chauncey Billups side of it, where, people are kind of looking at Chauncey Billups being like, wait a second, why are you involved in this? Like, this doesn't make sense. It's like, Chauncey Billups has never been, he said it himself, and the quote is going around in a bit of of course, a corny way. It's like a funny how it turned out sort of way. But like he said, he's never been afraid of pressure. And, the Chauncey Billups one, again, is not, I think, as detrimental to the league as, of course, the Terry Rozier one, but it is definitely the more interesting story to look at. Definitely the more complicated sort of workings of what was going on with that situation as well too. But again, for Terry Rozier, it's like whatever kind of league punishment in terms of him not playing, like that makes total sense. Again, you're compromising the competitive balance of the league. You probably shouldn't be playing in the league anymore. But the Chauncey Billups thing, and I guess we could dig into more of what I guess his role was in this crime ring in a way. But again, he wasn't actually involved in like NBA crime. He was involved in poker crime. So I guess if the World Series of Poker wants to ban Chauncey Billups from playing, then that would make sense. He's compromised the competitiveness of the poker leagues. But in terms of him being banned from the NBA, again, listening to some of these people, like, Chauncey Billups is never going to coach again. And maybe that's just, the Blazers have been that great with Chauncey Billups as well, too. I don't know if he would have been a top-level rehire once the Blazers parted ways with him. But, I don't know if he necessarily should, hot take chat. This is the hot take from the pod. I don't know, IT, turn the cameras on. Don't ban Chauncey Billups from the league. Hey, so yeah, it's like Chauncey Billups, like, knocking on people's doors, like, collecting paychecks, and I get that's, a part of it as well too. There is some other lines that are crossed outside of just defrauding people, which is not, again, REMINGTOM pod, not taking a pro defrauding stance. Make no mistake. But is the Chauncey Billups rigged poker games worth a lifetime ban from the NBA? Again, Pete Rose was not rigging poker games. And the Pete Rose thing was actually like the Pete Rose thing is like, hey, yo, chat, we're going to get worked up. Rest in peace to Pete Rose, the legend. I know that there is some baseball honoring stuff that's gone down since then. I don't know if they've necessarily gone Hall of Fame with him. You imagine at some point that baseball is going to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I mean, just for the publicity, like you got just, okay, it's like, we needed a boost to the news cycle. Like, let's just put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. So I don't know if we just Google that now to see if that's already happened or not. It's like, 2025 offseason, pitch clock and Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame would honestly be a pretty good list of accomplishments. But, Pete Rose, I don't think he was even betting the unders. I don't even know if he was betting. Maybe he was betting on the team. Maybe there was some stuff. But I remember that being part of the legend as well, too. It's like, well, Pete Rose wasn't on the wrong side of the bets. He was just placing bets. So Pete Rose was like, yeah, I'll hit the home runs. Like, of course I'm going to hit the home run, and I'll bet on it, too. Like, I might as well, if I'm going to make the money on the field, I might as well make the money off the field. So, again, as the legend goes in my mind, that's the Pete Rose story. I think if you go back and watch the clips, that's not going to be the Terry Rozier story. And there's the one pass especially where I think it is funny enough. Oh, no, it's against Cleveland. And I think Cleveland's in their powder blue alternates. As I say, I think funny enough, it was against Charlotte. And I think there's some clips from his Charlotte days as well, too, that aren't super favorable. But the clips of him on Miami and it's Cleveland because I think he throws the pass to Donovan Mitchell. But he throws one pass where he starts running back for the turnover before Donovan Mitchell has even stolen it. He's like, yes, Donovan Mitchell's going to steal this, and then I'm going to run back, but also I'm not even going to contest the three-pointer as well, too. And there's a couple other ones where it's like, maybe there's just, if he was just playing bad, then those would make sense. But that one specifically is like, yeah, you put that one with the other ones, and this guy is clearly, there's some stuff going on here in the Terry Rozier story. That's for sure. But yeah, shout out to Chauncey Billups. People are talking about him like he is Terry Rozier compromising the competitiveness of the league. And again, it's like what crimes I guess the legal system is in some ways, about doling out proper sentences for crimes. But I'm not saying it obviously does that. But I guess I was saying, do we get to determine what a sentence is? So it is what it is what it is. We're not trying to get over our skis here, but point being, I guess if the league were to be like, 1 year suspension for Chauncey Billups or whatever the sort of punishment is for, like, if he does have to do some type of time served situation, which I don't know, honestly, if he will. Again, knowing his role, he was, I think, a little bit more involved. Again, maybe not on some of the enforcement side or the planning side. I think maybe the plans were being brought to Chauncey Billups, but he's definitely involved in some of the execution. So he might, I don't know if there's precedent for other guys involved in, like, them getting a year or two or whatever, and then maybe, that turns into 6 months. Like, I don't know, again, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think, Mike Vick, what did Mike Vick go through, Chad? Hey, again, I'm not saying Mike Vick's a perfect we're not saying that we're approving of the actions, but hey, I don't know if if this was like a he got game situation where the warden's like, who do I want as my quarterback? Mike Vick. So, stuff gets sketchy there, obviously, but, for Billups, I guess whatever the legal system says, if the NBA is like, we'll match that, then that's good for me. If it's like 2 years, so again, maybe Chauncey Billups doesn't get the opportunity, which is, I think, kind of a, it'd been interesting to see if, like, Chauncey Billups was like a Spoelstra level coach, what the reaction would have been from the organizations in terms of them, the going forward prospects with Chauncey Billups, because, and shout out Tiago Splinter, I think, is taking over as the interim, of course, former Spurs championship team member in 2014, of course, unfortunately got dunked on by LeBron in 2013, or no, got blocked by LeBron in 2013. He was going for the dunk. What an iconic Heat highlight there, but was able to make it back. He dunked on Wade, I think is what it was, or Bosch, or one of those other guys. It was able to get the revenge poster as well. But the impact that he had on that team was definitely valuable for sure. So we're in favor of him getting an opportunity as a head coach, and I think that he could actually be a good head coach. I just have good head coach vibes from him. So maybe it's like a weird, do the Blazers get a coaching upgrade as a byproduct of this, and maybe they actually kind of want to see what Tiago Splinter has from a coaching standpoint. But yeah, I guess make sure we clear Chauncey Billups' name here. To my understanding, he was not involved in compromising the competitiveness of the NBA, which again really just sets him up for a different type of story. Which, again, we're not saying that what he did was okay, obviously, but again, people were like, well, why is Chauncey Billups getting involved in this? And it's like, you see the setup for some of this stuff. It's not like it's not, you're like, wait a second. What are these X-ray glasses? What is these cards with the secret invisible ink on them? And then you put the glasses on, you can see the cards on the back, what the hand is written on the back. And then you can, of course, cheat that way. There's the X-ray tables, and I'm like earpiece situations. And, it's like real, of course, like actual like movie type stuff that's going on here. Like maybe even legitimately, like we haven't even seen that in a movie, I don't think. Has anybody even thought of that? I mean, obviously somebody thought of it because that's what they were using for the scheme, but it is like kind of brilliant. Like there's no way that we haven't been running this type of poker scam for forever, because make no mistake, like sunglasses for poker to cover the eyes and just, eliminate the sort of expressions that the opponents can read is an iconic move. But the fact that just wouldn't immediately be pivoted into something corrupt, it's like, yeah, of course that, I can't believe we didn't even think that was going on all these years. So is it kind of like the guy that had the beads in his butt when he was playing chess? And it's like, hey, I don't know if this is, crazy, or if this is like a genius move, if this guy's like, whatever it takes. I don't even know if that story was real or not. We have to go back. I don't know if we're even able to Google that one. We open up an incognito tab, but this maybe a little safer on the Google, honestly, this Chauncey Billups story. But it's like, okay, the tactics here are, again, like real script level, high level tactics that are being used. And, some guys just want the rush, chat. Hey, again, so I'm not necessarily diving into whatever the Chauncey Billups side of this is. And, did he get, was there some stuff going on? Was he in a situation where he needed some extra money, where it's like, we could go pull up the earnings that, he was not necessarily, he was a well-compensated player, even if the contracts aren't the same. Like, it's not like he wasn't, pulling in a good buck. And then again, he's been a head coach. He was working at ESPN. So he's had paychecks for the entire time since going pro. He's had a decent source of income there. So it's not like he's necessarily needed. Because I think they were saying in total this scheme was like $7 million. So I mean, make no mistake, that's like a good, like if there was a heist movie and it's like we're gonna win $7 million at a game, like that would be cool. Like you're like, yeah, oh yeah, 7 million one game, like that's a good pull for sure. You can do a lot of damage with a couple million, but if you're like over the course of a heist movie pulling up 7 million, it's like, wait a second, is this heist movie set in like 1982? Like what's going on? I don't know. Just for inflation rates, we divide that up by everybody. It's like Chauncey Billups making like $50K a year from these poker games, but still, I guess a story to tell. So yeah, I do feel like Chauncey Billups will be more on like the Henry Hill side of this, kind of in the house afterwards, telling stories. I don't know if, it's like, we're going to have to go visiting hours for Chauncey Billups 15 years from now. But, the scheming, the planning, it was definitely top-notch stuff that was being involved here. And, again, Chauncey Billups, I'm not a low-key player as well, too. But a fun player where they're like, we need a celebrity to draw people into the games. And that is like a fun level of celebrity. Chauncey Billups, hey, yo, make no mistake, where, again, Chauncey Billups, because ESPN head coach, been in the NBA a while, like I feel like, and I guess, I don't know, if Chauncey Billups had like a celebrity relationship at some point as well, too, like I wouldn't necessarily be surprised about that. Like I feel like he's a pretty charming guy. So, I feel like there is a decent fame level there, but I feel like you also have to know who Chauncey Billups is. Like, I feel like you just go up to sort of, I don't want to say your random celebrity or your random rich person or whatever, and be like, hey, you want to play in a poker game with Chauncey Billups? Like, oh yeah, lock me in for that. And again, he made a lot of money, but I don't know, is Chauncey Billups like a high roller poker player? Hey, yo, chat. I don't know. So there is definitely some question marks to be had there. But to be honest, I kind of want to hang out with anybody that wants to play in a high stakes illegal poker game with Chauncey Billups. Like that's the hook. It's high stakes, it's illegal, it's poker, and it's with Chauncey Billups. And they're like, that checks all the boxes for me. It's like, you know what? Call in. We may actually the love of basketball and risk taking. There might be some crossover there. Who knows? But yeah, I guess the shout out to the Gambino crime family chat. Ayo, what a run! I don't know if this is a consecutive run, and I don't know if this is like a takedown of the Gambinos. It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like this was a takedown of the crime family. There's definitely a lot of names involved in whatever this scheme was. Definitely seems to be operating. So again, they could definitely be getting on this scheme, but I don't know if this is the type of scheme. Maybe you put a couple of guys away for a good amount of time, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to get, the type of major crime family takedown that you want. Though again, they did get, what did they get? Capone on like tax evasion. So it's not like you necessarily have to get all these guys on, whatever the worst degree homicide is or whatever, whatever it can be. And hey, yo, we got to give the Gambinos credit. Like it is a lot of money crimes anyways. So, that's going to be the charge. And, when the government's involved, I'm sure, they want to be monitoring where the money's going. So it's more, I think I heard academics say the quote was the crime is often who makes the money in the country as well. So, maybe the Gambinos, it's like, the government's not necessarily approved that flow of income over there. But again, the AO chat, it's a long run. Shout out some legendary names back in the mix. And, again, to go with the heist, I know these are they're three totally separate things. Terry Rozier, turnovers, Chauncey Billups rigged poker games in a Louvre heist. But it does feel like, it feels like, for once, the real world is outpacing Hollywood, chat. I don't know, maybe not for once. Hey, yo. Maybe we've been in a little bit of a crazy storyline aspect. But again, these are obviously maybe the fun Hollywood movies as well, too. Where I feel like in those three stories, those are pretty good criminal stories. Hey, yo. Like, I guess, because the Louvre heist, I feel like was a clean getaway, chat. Hey, like, it wasn't like there was like a, not like Val Kilmer and De Niro were shooting out with the LA police and, heat afterwards. I feel like it was more of a inside man type situation, more planning, clean getaway. And, it's not like there was a hostage situation, stakeout at the Louvre. Even though, stakeout at the Louvre, chat, hey, yo, I don't know if that's a Tubi classic that we need to cook up here or not. But, those are obviously good IP stories to have had right there. And again, all the pieces in this gambling story are pretty perfect for that stuff as well too. Like, I don't know if Sorkin's jealous of what happened, but that was of course the movie that we thought of as, I mean, you think of all the Mafia movies as well too, of course Goodfellas, the Casino, all the different stuff, but I mean the Molly's Game movie, shout out Chastain, of course. I think Sorkin directed that as well too. Of course Sorkin wrote Social Network, but Fincher directed Social Network. So yeah, I think Sorkin was writer director for Molly's Game, and that's a great movie, Chad. Hey, yo, shout out Chastain, tears it up in that. But that did feel a little bit more like what this was, and I'd have to go back and rewatch that here, Chad. Should we check if that's on streaming? I don't know if we're gonna turn the games off right now for Molly's Game, but we'll keep it in mind. Hey, yo, I guess college football is not gonna slow down tomorrow, but if we get a break in the action, maybe throw on a little Molly's Game. I don't know. But, it is on Netflix right now. Did they put it on Netflix just because? And I guess two-time Olympic class skier. I didn't say two-time. Pause. It's a true story. I don't know why. I just read that as two-time Olympic class skier. But a true story of Molly Bloom, an Olympic class skier who ran the world's most exclusive high-stakes poker game and became an FBI target. So wait a second. Do we have to look up Molly Bloom earnings, chat, from the poker games? Hey, yo. Because I feel like, and maybe she is the Jerry Rice of poker games, the Serena Williams of poker games, where her of illegal poker, where her dominance is just undeniable, and her numbers are crazy, and we just can't compare them to anybody else. But I feel like she might have been in her net worth right now is, I guess, whatever you find online. But what are we making from these poker games? And I guess we could get into the technicalities of like, well, I guess I didn't technically make any money from the poker games. It's all going into random accounts as well too. And this also did make me realize that I think cryptocurrency was invented for money laundering, because I don't even understand how crypto works, but I feel like our money tracking right now, I feel like we're pretty locked in with a lot of knowing what those numbers are. And you can do like currency exchanges and stuff like that, I think, to skirt around some of that stuff. But just being able to flip it over into crypto, I think, is actually the move, because I don't know, you flip it back into cash. I don't know how that works, but I feel like that'd be a pretty good way to clean it up. And then you probably could, go back and track some initial crypto transfers and things like that. I'm sure it's not the totally clean getaway, but it's like, oh yeah, crypto and money laundering, that makes total sense. I know that's probably, we're probably like 7 years, 10 years late in realizing that that's actually what it's for. But that is actually, that I forget is, how they were using it to clean up their money. And there was a couple other aspects as well too. Maybe there was some assets they were putting it into. I don't know, there are trading cards. Right? We get crypto, and then Chauncey Billups has a ton of trading cards. It's like, where'd you get all these tops from? Pause. Or I don't even know what the other brands are. Panini? I guess that'd be like football cards. But, I guess, we're looking for Molly Bloom's numbers, chat. What was she putting up here back in the day? Wait, from 100 something? Oh, from 100 probably dollars to reportedly earned over $1 million from tips and her cut of the poker pot. Oh, okay. So maybe, but again, was Chauncey making $1 million by himself? Like they were saying 7 million total. So we gotta give respect. But again, the Louvre guys, they couldn't even put a number on the Louvre heist value for some of the jewels that they got. They're like, we don't even have to worry about pricing some of this stuff because nobody's gonna want to take it. Hey, yo, it is what it is. So here, let's go Louvre heist worth and see if we've able to make an estimate. There has to be, or they just don't want to say, because it could be too like, wait a second, they got away, and with how much? 102 million. Whoa! Chet! Here we go. Do we have to go? We have to give him a standing ovation? Hey, yo. I guess, again, it's not like they're... If you take cash, that's the bank's money. I don't know. The bank federally insuring $102 million, though. I feel like that would start to dip in taxpayer dollars. But, hey, yo. 88 million euros? A dramatic theft occurred at the Louvre in Paris. Thieves disguised as construction workers managed to steal 8 pieces of French crown jewels. The robbery took place in broad daylight and lasted less than 8 minutes, during which the thieves used hydraulic basket lift to access the museum, smash the display cases, and take the jewels. Paris prosecutor Laurie Bacot stated that the estimated value of the stolen jewels is $102 million, which reflected their market value and does not account for their historical importance to France. So, I mean, this is like where they, vibranium in their chat. Hey, yo, this is some crazy stuff. We have images of Andy Serkis breaking into this museum to take this stuff. I don't know what's going on here, but this is actually the story to focus on here, of course. This is some crazy stuff. So I know this is maybe a little bit out of Kash Patel's district. I mean, make no mistake, if Kash Patel was in charge of the Louvre, chat, this never would have happened. It would have been on lock the whole time. But yeah, I guess, hey, yo, if Chauncey Billups is going to try, nothing's going to get past the FBI. Hey, yo, chat, they're going to sample that for a theme song at some point. You can just see it happening. It is where that is. They're like, ooh, that rhymed. We like it. Write it down. But yeah, ayo. So Chauncey Billups, chat. He's a good man. It is what it is. No, Chauncey Billups. They'll get all that stuff figured out. But yeah, he is not messing up the NBA. That's Terry Rozier, chat. Let's blame Terry Rozier for that. But I guess to go back to something that we were saying as well too, the unders standpoint. I was thinking about this because of, like we're saying, a lot of people were talking about like, wait, it's not just, Van, like Lathan, like why do we have player props at all? But, other people were saying, why do we have player props on some of these lower players? And I was thinking like, it is so true. Like, why are they even thinking it's not just like, why is it available? But yeah, why are they even thinking to put Damon Jones props up there? Or, again, Terry Rozier is at that level where, he could score 20 points a game on the right team. Like, you could, he's going to be legitimately putting up numbers where you could bet on those. But, like, and no disrespect to Jontay Porter, but it's like, even when he's on as active, like, what are even those numbers? Like, over under 1.5 points for Jontay Porter? Like, how are they even tracking if it's people, how is betting the under even weird? Hey, yo, like, who's out there betting the Jontay Porter overs? Or, who's the other guy that we're saying as well, too? Damon Jones. Oh, Rozier, I guess, was the newer one. Damon Jones is the retired guy. And I think it was different as well. It's not like Damon Jones was betting the unders. I think he was talking about some information that maybe he shouldn't have been, which, again, also not good in compromising the competitiveness of the league. But I do actually, the more I've thought about it, I do actually think that maybe that those player unders are out there for that specific reason. Where... And I don't know if the sports books get like, oh, wait a second, is this guy like involved in something and maybe we need to test it and see? But the Jontay Porter one is crazy. And maybe it's literally just that he's Michael Porter Jr.'s brother and they're like, okay, well, let's just put some props on there because the Raptors we need some names that people are going to bet on and they're just going to know who they're like, okay, well, they know who Michael Porter is, so maybe they might know who Jontay Porter is. But, it's like, is the Terry Rozier, are some of these unders on there just to trigger whether or not massive bets are going in this direction in a certain way? But again, I don't even is enough people betting the Terry Rozier under that crazy? Because I think it was Windhorse that I was hearing say, like, and this goes back to the initial investigation, that the sports books flagged this right away when the Terry Rozier stuff started to go down. And they're like, oh, wait a second, too many people are betting this under. But again, what is that? It's like, okay, so, most people are mostly betting the over, or I guess just nobody bets the Terry Rozier under. So the fact that there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars they were saying going in on that specific bet, they're like, wait a second, that's a lot. But, if just the public is super in on the idea that Terry Rozier is not playing well, which again, him specifically, we know why. But I think that some of those names are specifically they're just trying to catch people, maybe. Where, like, yeah, let's just put Jonte Porter's name up there and see if they're going to launder money and they're going to try to, flip the profit on some of this stuff, then it would be on one of these guys. Because, again, maybe you don't want to have to match the salary for Kevin Durant or Steph Curry to see if you can get one of these guys to start messing with their stat lines as well. And maybe the Gambinos do like basketball enough that they're like, yeah, we don't actually want to, we don't want to mess with the stars. Terry Rozier is a good level. I don't know what the best player is that the Gambinos are willing to sacrifice for betting purposes, for profit, but maybe they like their basketball as well too. Ayo chat, Tobias Harris. Again, we're gonna start getting in trouble. Tobias Harris would be an interesting one though. Who would be? I guess we maybe said some names earlier. Who would be the most likely that if you're like, oh yeah, that would make sense. That guy getting involved is not the most shocking thing in the world. But Ayo, speaking of some, we've mentioned some of these Rockets players because we got that game on in the background right now. We totally abandoned. What happened to Spurs Pelicans? Ayo, chat. We're bad fans. We forgot about our guy Wemby. But we're doing our due diligence, trying to bounce around the league here, watch some of these games. I mean, we know we're going to go back and have that Spurs game on a couple times tomorrow morning. It is what it is, especially if they win. Make no mistake. And especially if Castle has a good game. I mean, I think I might be more excited for... Not more excited for Castle. But again, like Wemby, it's excitement and it's more... Oh, chat, of course the Pelicans are winning. It would be more like relief. Like, pause. But like, oh, he actually is becoming the player that we think. Like Castle, yes, we have high upside for him. It's like, what is he going to be as a player? We're not talking about, could he be an all-star? Could he be an all-NBA guy? So if he just keeps to continue to climb these levels, it's like, oh, this is all just, not extra production, but all fun stuff. So I guess he has leveled off a little bit, 4 for 10. But Wemby, 11 for 19, 0 for 2 on 3, but 2 is good. 2 is fine. 8 minutes left in the fourth. He may take another one, but we're still not looking too bad. Derek Queen, little 5 for 8 there. Trey Murphy, 7 for 15. Not too bad. But yeah, I guess it's slow for Harper as well, too. Maybe we turn the game back on. Maybe we were good luck, chat. I didn't know we'd be good luck for this team. We've always been bad luck. As a fan, you're always bad luck when you watch them. If you're a good luck fan, if you're like, oh man, I have to watch these games because every time I watch, we do well or something, like DM us at Rim and Sam Pod. I would love to know what, a good luck fan is like. Jordan Poole was 17. I did see Cornette as well too, not playing too bad. 6 for 8, playing efficient there. -1 on the game. Vassell with 20. Don't disrespect Vassell. 5 for 12 from 3. Ooh, Vassell firing away, chat. Make no mistake, he does, like we're saying, one of the more perimeter-focused guys that we have. But that is a lot of volume. If maybe Vassell was in the 8 to 9 range, that'd be fun. Oh, chat! Do we have to rewind? Did Sarr just get Gafford? I think he just blocked the Gafford dunk. We were kind of eyeballs going back and forth between both screens there, pause, but something just Gafford was at the rim going up for a shot and it did not go in, and Sarr was there, so I think he played good defense. Oh, Tari Eason in transition on the dunk. We got an exciting moment here, Friday Night Hoops. But shout out to our guy Sarr, chat. Showing some stuff here. Keshawn George though continues to ball out, and it's Nembhard. Oh, he puts on the brakes, chat. We got, I guess Mavs are down 9 to the Wizards, or 11 to the Wizards right now, but maybe the Wizards are a 25-30 win team this year. Who knows? They could be feisty. Sarr gets the free throws on Davis, chat. This could be tough for Davis, who, like we said, we're talking about when they got the trade. It's like, there is still a world where we get to see Davis as a number 1 guy here, and there's a little bit of a window, and especially getting Cooper Flag, like, could this, if Davis is still that type of guy, what is the competitiveness there? And I think offensively, like we're saying, some of the shot making stuff still there, absolutely, but maybe defensively, some of the movement stuff is starting to slow down a little bit. Some of the reaction, elevation stuff, just a smidge off, of course, from, but, just a little off from where that, obviously best version of Anthony Davis was. But again, with Cooper Flag still being still being on the rise for his talent, if they're going to be immediately a more winning team, then it would be based on Davis's production still as a top level player. And he could still probably be able to, again, put up a lot of points. But if he has a game where Wemby looks good, one generational, and now Sar is like having a good game against him, then that is starting to be a little bit of a resume there for Davis. So wait, let's go check on this game real quick and see. We got, and Miami has started to, take it to Memphis. Is Miami 1-0? Miami is going to be Spoelstra and just a bunch of vets, chat. Not, I guess, some young guys as well too. But veteran young guys. Hawk, as you know, he's been around. I don't know, was Kasparonis, is that even his name? Is Casper, is he like a true a one and done? But he does have like a veteran style to his game. So you get the point. Miami has a type of guy that, of course, they're trying to get. But Jovic is a veteran at this point. A veteran of the "it's time" dialogue, maybe, for him to step up. But Sar's 4 for 7. Not too bad. George just cooking tonight, chat. Who would have thought the best wing last name George, chat? Paul George, the Kashawn George. The torch has been passed. It's Kashawn George now. It's not even close. Kashawn George, 26 and 8. 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Plus 18. He's cooking, chat. He's a dude. That is a guy. I mean, unfortunately, we thought Bub Carrington would be a guy as well, too. He's 0 for 5 tonight. Only 1 point, 17 minutes. Trey Johnson, he could be taking that guard spot from him if he does not continue to lift that offensive production. But to have that kind of perimeter wing with maybe the defensive upside as well, too, like, that's an important piece. And again, as much as this talent may show some stuff this year, like we're saying, we're not expecting them to win a lot of games. So this would be perfect. It's like, George played really well, so I guess they could win this game here. Be 1-1. 500, great time for the Wizards. But if they do get like a top draft pick, so I guess worst case scenario, they're like the 6th pick in the draft, and it's like, okay, whoever's last, Con Knuppel from this year's draft is like, who's the sort of role guy, 3rd guy that we can add into the team to up the roster and then just continue to add to that collection. But if they were to get Dembast or Peterson or something like that, one of those top level guys, then the supporting cast would be like, maybe there is a little eye raise factor that goes on there. Whitmore checks into the game. It would really just be Whitmore, them realizing what they have, and Whitmore as a star player. Whitmore, George, Sar as a 3, and then is Vooch out there in that lineup with I guess Trey Johnson as well too. So with Johnson, Whitmore, George, and Sar is already 4. You got 4 of your 5 guys to win a title right there. Washington, you're close. So that 5th guy, like we're saying, maybe he needs to be a couple levels up to get that group there. But that's something. That roster maybe could get there. Sar, George, Whitmore, and Trey Johnson. Yeah, I think so, chat. Maybe there's a couple moves to be made, but it's something. It's something. So here we go. Whitmore, transition. Jaden Hardy's not going to stop him. That's a strong drive, chat. Reverse layup. He's too good in those scenarios. Cam Whitmore downhill. Pause. We need to get Cam Whitmore and Zion on the same team. I feel like, not to say that we're going away from 3-point shooting, but I think that attacking and getting to the basket is going to be a thing that is a little bit more front focused. And of course, the OKC effect of them being a good 3-point shooting team, but having guys that can create outside of the 3-point lane. And, they have the ball movement and the cutters as well too. So that type of element is definitely a factor in their success. So like we're saying, we're not going to say that guys are not going to be non-shooters, but for them to be resorting to that as just a default reflex type of thing, it does feel like we're not at the peak era for that anymore. And there is a little bit more offense being introduced back into the league, a little bit more, diversity in the types of shots that guys are getting. And maybe it goes to, as well, just not being as much of a guard focus at times at the best players in the league. Like we do, again, have great, Brunson and Edwards and, Curry still, and all Doncic, I guess, is technically a guard. We do have Shea. We guess we have still a ton of great guards, but between, of course, the unicorn center resurgence in the league and the way that the league has just trended into some of the wing talent type stuff, that maybe it's just shifted that style a little bit more. But yeah, Dallas, Chad, hey yo, not looking good here against Washington. Washington started to pull away in this third quarter. They are up 10. Oh, Chet! San Antonio has reclaimed the lead here. 5 minutes to go in the fourth. We got to switch this one over. Hey, yo, it is what it is. This is journalistic integrity, Chad. We've just got to follow the games that are close and in the clutch time moments. So we're really just doing our due diligence as basketball fans here, trying to keep up with the primetime moments. Pistons Rockets, though, is going to be good. And that's a fun game as well, too. A fun cross-conference matchup. I feel like maybe the NBA Cup, maybe it pivots to that a little bit. Where I get that the idea of trying to work it in the regular season and just make it as, seamless as possible. You're not trying to add any extra games. You're just trying to sort of, create false importance around some real games. And again, false importance, but still, if you are actually able to create that, that is still a good thing, even if it's not a title, just a little bit of extra, extra attention on some normally kind of mundane regular season games. But again, the matchups aren't out of the ordinary. So not to say that a cross-conference matchup wouldn't be out of the ordinary, but if it was a little bit more like, yeah, hey, the best team in the East is going to play the best team in the West, again, does that lend itself to the best, most fairest bracket? But I don't know if that's what the NBA Cup needs to be as well, too. Again, the NBA Cup needs to be about prioritizing competitiveness and interest in the regular season. It's not about giving the best team in the NBA Cup the best chance to win. Again, it's not a title. That's what the title's about. The title is, the playoff bracket is set up. If you achieve the best in the regular season, you're, if it all works out, going to have the best path to win the title. But the NBA Cup should be about, how do we make sure that we have the most fun games possible? And maybe there should be, because they divide it up into pools and stuff, and they're able to rotate the schedules around and try to make it interesting every year based on the wins and losses and make it competitive that way. But maybe it does need to be a little bit more like how college does it with the, like college basketball has the ACC Big Ten Challenge, or, I guess Pac-12 doesn't really exist, Big 12 ACC or whatever it just has the conferences all battle it out in the regular season, and the best team in the Big Ten will play the best. So that, of course, is a little pre-scheduled as well, too. But regardless, there is that pedigree going in that, Duke is going to play Michigan State, and Michigan's going to play North Carolina, and, Wisconsin's going to play Florida State, and it's going to be, or Miami, or, whoever the top teams are in a given year, but you're going to have some sort of equal program matchups there to make sure you're having competitive games and making sure that, again, it's just going to be a more fun viewing experience for everybody as well, too. So maybe it's, when you get to NBA Cup time, whoever the one seeds are, and like we say, it's early enough in the playoffs that, or early enough in the regular season that you could still have a weird, like, is Utah still going to be in the top 4 by the time we get to the NBA Cup? Like, maybe they are. Maybe they're still like the 6th best team in the West. But it could be even enough that you could just go in the season, the best teams are playing each other, and then, you could get matchups where it's like, oh, we're gonna see OKC New York playing in a NBA Cup game. And we're going to be seeing, like I say, Houston, Detroit maybe is not the exact matchup, but we're going to be seeing a little bit more of hypothetical. And again, you are obviously more likely to play a team in your own conference in the playoffs, but those sort of hypothetical quote unquote finals matchups of what these teams could be. We could see Milwaukee versus Denver in the NBA Cup instead of Denver versus Phoenix in their own divisional teams. Like, and that's the point. The point is they're playing those teams already, but we're going to see those matchups. We're going to see the competitiveness there. So why not have made up series or made up games against these teams? Spurs versus, maybe it would be like Spurs Pistons would be the NBA Cup equivalent. Or I guess the Magic are good this year, Magic Denver in the NBA Cup, and see kind of where Magic are in the cross competitiveness of their, because that'd be a good way to get the equals. But you could play the 2 seed in the East could play the 3 seed, and you'd be getting a good matchup that way. But there would be, like I'm saying, this sort of balance throughout all of the matchups, ideally, obviously, in that way as well too. But I don't know, scheduling, we'd have to work out the logistics of how to get that to work, and it would still probably be based on the previous season, where I guess here, let's look that up real quick. If we were basing it on the previous season, what would it be? Again, like, do you get teams like Milwaukee get some turnover? I guess they weren't the highest regular season team though. Boston, losing a guy and having a major injury in Tatum, just because they're the 2 seed last year, doesn't mean they're the second best team in the East going into this season. Not necessarily. But you would get OKC versus Cleveland, Boston versus Houston, the Knicks versus the Lakers, the Nuggets versus the Pacers, the Clippers versus the Bucks, the Pistons versus the Timberwolves. That's a fun one. There we go. We finally got a fun matchup. Magic versus the Warriors. There we go. Hawks versus the Grizzlies. Bulls, Kings. Yeah, perfect, chat. Let those teams battle it out. No one cares. Miami versus Dallas. Toronto, Phoenix. Brooklyn, Portland. San Antonio versus Philly. I mean, this worked out perfect, but, Edgecombe, not that great. Or, really good. Maybe not that great for the Spurs. Matchup there. Charlotte versus New Orleans, and Washington, Utah. Some of those lower teams again. Maybe, are they as competitive for the NBA Cup? And, hey, shout out to the NBA Cup for us even, caring about it this much to just be rambling about it here. But I do think that would be a little, if they could make that work, I would like to see that tournament. Because I always get interested in those games. Again, there is going to be fewer of those games, but same with the NFL. When you get that fun cross-conference matchup, and you get those, of course, a little bit rarer just in the timeline as well, too. It's not like, we had like a Bucks Texans game a couple weeks ago on Monday night. Like, it's not like they play all the time. So, it's just a little bit more unique pairings as well, too. But this would be fun measuring these teams. Detroit versus Minnesota would be really fun. Clippers versus the Bucks. These are all good. Again, Boston and Indiana, of course, unfortunate. They lost their top guys in the playoffs. So they're just in a different spot there. But Udoka versus Boston is not a fun storyline. And Indiana versus Denver, like we saw Indiana take OKC to overtime. So they're definitely with Carlisle and a bunch of those just return playoff guys as well, too. Still a really competitive, feisty team that you don't want to deal with. Oh, wait a second. Chad, did our camera die? I didn't even realize the camera died. Sorry, but whoa, chat. We are IT slacking today. Did the feds raid IT and did they get arrested? Maybe that's why they're not keeping the camera going. We got to take a break, plug our camera back in, and get everything working again. We'll be right back, chat. Spurs up 6 with 2.5. Hopefully this is the time in the game where, okay, they just pulled away enough, pause, and now they're going to maybe close this one out and win it. But fourth quarter, Pistons, Rockets. We'll follow along here to end the pod. This will be a good last fourth quarter to take us out on, because it does look like it is going to be competitive as well, too. Couple of Rockets games, back-to-back live streams, chat. Fourth quarter, stay tuned. We'll be back with the camera right after this. The camera's still not on, chat. Wait a second. We'll be right back. Give us a... Oh, no. Okay, there we are, chat. Hey, yo, we're back at Cooking Pod, back to normal. Camera back on. Maybe we want the camera off, though, because the Spurs are collapsing before our very eyes. The Pelicans have tied this game up with 40 seconds to go, and Zion has the basketball. Hey, yo, he's got Cornet on him, operating top of the key, pulls up for a little jumper! Oh, chat, it rolls in. It rolls in. Zion gives the Pelicans the lead. Oh, he gives the Spurs the mean mug. Oh, chat. What a collapse. An opportunity for a Spurs team to figure out how to close out a game. It does feel like we've struggled with that last year. You give them the excuse for, again, just being a young team, but they have a possession around the 2-minute mark where they go quickly. Pelicans get the ball. They're able to get a foul in a couple of free throws, back down the other way, an overthrow of Wemby on a post-entry pass by Castle. And I don't even know how that's possible, like the Pelicans announcer said. And, you know, turnover there. And now all of a sudden, missed shot going the other, air ball, Wemby, couple of missed threes. They did have one missed three by Castle that was a good look and just did not, unfortunately, you know, rattle around and go in. Pause. But regardless, a little 8-point swing here. And I think it's even been bigger than that. I think this might be like a 12-2 run here in the last couple of minutes by the Pelicans. You know, Zion was going to get us for all the stuff we were talking about him there as well. And Wemby's streak of blocks definitely continues. He has 8 blocks in tonight's game. So I don't know. Does he have a streak of double-digit blocks as well, too? But we should have mentioned this earlier. Hey, yo. Maybe it's a good thing we turned the camera back on. Continue some of the thoughts we were saying. But that streak might be low-key one of the most unbreakable streaks in sports, because the next closest player was 9 games in a row with a block. So that's one of the the Steph Curry had the 3-pointer one where it does feel a little bit like, oh, you know, if you're a good player now, you're just going to get a 3 in every game, you know, to some degree. But, you know, that's obviously not the case. In blocks, definitely way more difficult. And Wemby is actually to the point where it's like, I don't even know if he's out there for more than 10 minutes. Oh, Castle! Hey, yo, Chet! King of the Castle! We need to come up with a good nickname, a good phrase for him like that. But, hey, yo, the killer 3-pointer, chat. 17 seconds. Pels are going to get a look. A 2-pointer wins it. But the pull-up jumper right in Murphy's face. Just enough room, chat. The confidence, too. Again, it's not necessarily his game to be like, let me just pull up in front of Trey Murphy and just drill a 3-pointer. But the confidence to step up, take the look. I mean, if it goes in, obviously, we love it. But he had that 3-pointer earlier, like we're saying. Good look. It just was barely touched, paused the rim in the wrong spot. It's crazy. But, you know, and just went out, that's all, you know, IT, cut that all out. That's insane. But that one right there dialed it in and is able to give the Spurs a lead when they didn't even necessarily need that. They could have tied the game. And they give the Pelicans 2 more seconds. So, you know, they're probably going to go quickly here. And the Spurs might have 4 or 5 seconds after this possession's over if the Pelicans don't run it all the way down. But that type of confidence is ideal as well, too. So, Wemby, you know, obviously the defense here gives us about as much confidence to get a stop as anybody in the league. And a good chance to see the discipline of the perimeter guys as well. Obviously no fouling because the free throws would be detrimental here, as if they make both, they would obviously get the lead. I'm not even going to switch over to the ESPN chat. No spoilers. We're just going to see what happens here in the final 20 seconds. Wemby on Zion. No Cornet unless they switch it. But we got Fears on the inbound. I assume Zion, but it could be Murphy. You know, they could run something for Murphy, but no. Zion at the top of the key. He's going to get space. He's not going to... Oh, chat! He gets a look at the basket. He got a driving lane. Turned the corner. The chaos there by the screens that the Pelicans ran definitely was effective. And, you know, he basically got all the way to the basket without running into a defender and then drew the foul. So I know we said fouls are detrimental. We'll see. Zion, he may miss one. Okay, he made the first one. That's, if he was going to miss one, it may have been the first, but this second one, we'll see. Oh, chat, they just gave him the lead. The Pelicans score guy gave him 2 points for that free throw. Hey, yo. Okay, it's not 108. It's 107 to 108. We'll see if he's able to give him the lead here, but still 12-2. At least it was, like we said, they went quickly and early enough foul that's a decent possession here. That's a decent possession, and he missed! He missed! We knew he was going to miss one, chat. Zion, lock it in! He missed one, 11.4. The game is tied. There's no stakes, chat. Oh, serve it up on a platter for Castle to be the hero. Maybe this is a Dylan Harper welcome to the league moment in a good way. A Dylan Harper first highlight, sort of off a screen 3. We'll see, but Castle's confidence is boiling hot right now. Though, you know, Wemby, obviously not scared to take a shot. We'll see who Mitch Johnson draws it up for, but we said we have, you know, whatever way we want to analyze him being that lead offensive guy. The point with the Castle stuff and just having the talent in general is if we're talking about one sort of bucket, you know, if Castle's in that level, then it is what it is. You know, Duncan was obviously like that, where Duncan could be the lead guy offensively in a game from start to finish if you needed him to be. But Parker as a creator, you know, you're going to run stuff for Parker at the end of the game. You're going to run stuff for Ginobili at the end of the game. Those guys are every bit as good. And you know, Duncan as a screener and gravity and just the effectiveness of how they were able to get looks in those type of setups, you know, you're not going to shy away from having that as a main thing at the end of the game. So I guess, you know, point being Castle getting looks off, I guess, but then they do run the Wemby Castle pick and roll as well too. So we'll see if they make that the play call here with 11:09 left. Herb Jones chat, will he destroy this play like Ed Reed? We will see. But Pistons, hey yo, keeping up with the Rockets, 101-99. That game is fun right there too. 16 for 37 from 3. So they are going crazy there. Harrison Barnes is going to run the clock down. Harrison Barnes ISO. Oh, they're setting up a Wemby top of the key post up. Good defense by Zion. He gets in the way. He cuts off the drive. You got to give him the credit. The Wemby strength there, you know, not necessarily turning the corner and getting to the basket maybe like he wanted to. He was able to push him off his spot a little bit. And to be honest, that wasn't necessarily the best play call as well too. You know, all due respect to Mitch Johnson, but there wasn't a lot of action there. Harrison Barnes definitely killed a lot of the clock with just the top of the court dribble there. And then again, not really getting Wemby any movement into the setup, into that shot is probably a little bit lazy. So, you know, end of the regulation, game's tied again. There's no necessarily initial loss by him not having it. And maybe you're not overcomplicating it, drawing a foul and getting a turnover there as well. But maybe I would have liked, you know, a little bit more motion from the offense with especially with 12 seconds and you have the ability to actually run a play there, where if you wanted to just kind of Wemby post up, you know, if you had a couple of seconds and you just throw it inbound and then get to that would make sense. But maybe run a little play as well too would be kind of fun. So, chat, Portland versus Golden State. We'll see Portland if they make life difficult for them. Obviously, Golden State 2-0, looking really good. 27-22. Could start to snowball here. Kumara, second team all defense. Maybe he's able to shut down Butler or Steph. We'll see. But Steph, of course, cooking like crazy in that last game. And speaking, going back to like we were talking earlier about Luka in that LA opener, and I guess they're playing on Prime right now. Hey, yo, I guess we're not intentionally boycotting Prime. We've got so many, how many accounts can we get here, chat? Hey, yo. And there's more games on League Pass than there is on Prime. So we're like, okay, at least early in the season, we're okay just not committing to a Prime account. But I guess Minnesota, like we said, we don't get to watch them on the League Pass. So when they do play national games, I do like to definitely catch that. But I guess tonight, it is what it is. Because, we won't see the reruns as well, too, on League Pass. League Pass! Give us the reruns at least, right after. I don't know why we have to wait 3 days for that. But I was thinking watching him, and again, especially in that environment, just how, again, with, I don't know, for Lakers fans over here, hey, yo. But, it's still undeniably when it's cooking, a great place to be playing. So Luka on that stage is a really great stage. And I was considering, again, they were playing the Warriors, and Steph wasn't necessarily like awesome in that game as well too. So I was considering a little like, is Luka passing Steph Curry right now for best heat check player in the league? Like we're going, who's just the most fun when they're on fire right now? Luka may have a case, but Steph did the other night just went crazy as well too. It's like, okay, I think Steph's still the most fun heat check player in the league, but Luka, I think, is as close right now. And, Luka, I don't know, has been maybe this good offensively for a couple of years now at this level. Obviously, again, he's obviously been a great offensive player for forever. But just to this absolute most elite level, maybe going into his third season kind of at the top of the league there, but or fourth or whatever. But, yeah, I think he is, again, as close to Steph as anybody has been in that territory. Because as good as other guys have been offensively, the fun factor in Steph just in NBA history is up there as well too. But, again, like Wemby, the whole game is definitely fun, and he's just such an intriguing talent, and him flying around. And when he's having a heat check game like he is in Dallas, again, it's the game aspect of it two ways is as impressive as anybody we've seen. But just offensively creating buckets right now, and, again, for the past decade, hey, yo, it's like it's still definitely been Steph. So Sengun down on the court, lifeless right now. Hey, yo, hopefully he's okay. I didn't see exactly why he was on the floor, but hey, yo, he was definitely not moving there for a second. So Rockets down 4. We'll see. Oh, Chad, did Wemby just foul out? Hey, yo. They've got a camera angle of some hot Pelicans fans waving goodbye to Wemby. So I think he might be done. Fouled out just a casual 29 tonight. And I don't know how many minutes he played, because that's another underrated factor in that Mavs game is he played less than, I think he played 29 minutes. He played less than 30 minutes. So, I mean, he put up all those numbers in a really short time span. Tonight, he played 32 minutes. And the efficiency you see is really starting to round into shape. 13 for 23 over that 50% mark, and 11 rebounds, 2 assists. I guess, 6 fouls. Minus 11 from the field, or from the floor. Not, plus minus, obviously not ideal. And now Vassell, responsible for a little bit more offense, takes the dribble jumper 3 there off the handoff from Cornet and gets to go. So that pushes it to the 112 to 108. We'll see how they close the game, of course, without Wemby. Nice, of course, having Cornet as a great just big man option. You can run the offense around him. He gives you the two-way versatility. If he gets a good look around the basket, he can convert. He can step out and hit a shot. He can play defense. He moves up and down the court really well. And, we have these guards and wings that, should be able to take up. If, again, we're going to be a playoff team, should be a good roster outside of Wembanyama. We're saying, can Wembanyama elevate this team as well, too, to a couple extra levels? Absolutely. But could Castle and Harper, Castle and Harrison Barnes and a couple of veterans, Keldon Johnson, maintain for 3.75 minutes without Wembanyama? Like, hopefully, they should be able to. Champagny, ayo, he's due for a 3-make at some point. Okay, Vassell has hit a couple of buckets here in a row now. He is 6 for 14 from 3 I don't know if that's a good percentage or not, but crazy. And I guess just the best player in general, plus 22. when he has been out there. But here, I wanted to see Wemby's, I guess, per 36 numbers now that I was thinking about it. He's scoring 40 points in 29 minutes. He already leads the league in a bunch of categories after one game. But let me see if this is as crazy as I think it could be. If we look at these numbers, 48 points per 36 minutes. Just a casual 48 and 18. So yeah, only 3.5 blocks per 40 minutes. Actually kind of low for Wembanyama. Only 3 blocks in that Mavs game to start. But he's at 8 right now. So he's at now 11 blocks through 2 games. Maybe he's, I guess, did he add one in there? But 48 points through 40 minutes is a pretty crazy potential stat line, I guess. I don't know. Shout out Jokic. Can we put? He doesn't get the assists, but how does 48 and 18 compare? So wait, should we look up Jokic's per 48s real quick and see what we got there? Again, he's obviously not going to be 48 and 18, but he could be pretty close to where he's at. I think, he plays probably 32, 34 minutes a game, so he's going to be right around where his just normal triple-double insane numbers are at. But per 36, this year alone, I guess in 2 games, we got him at only one game, 18 a game, 18 and 11. So last year he would have been 29, 12, and 10 per 36. So yeah, again, right on pace with where he's at in general, just near the greatest offensive player that we've ever seen. But, Wemby, 48 and 18. Not too bad as well. So what is VJ Edgecombe? How many points did Edgecombe score in how many minutes? I mean, I guess 34 in how many minutes, but I guess per game for his career, that's a little bit better than Wembanyama. 50% from the field. 13 for 26. 5 for 13 from 3. So 38%, not bad as well. Though 13 in that Devin Vassell range. 7 rebounds. So wait, what was his minutes? 42 minutes. So shout out. That's good as well too, though. Means he's hustling, playing. Definitely getting their worth out of that rookie contract. I'm sure they're gonna try. But now we've got the Rockets Pistons with 2 minutes left. That game is quicker to being over than Spurs Pelicans. Castle at the free throw line. Yeah, this is fun, chat. Are we saying rest Wemby for a game? Give the ball to Castle. The game that Fox goes back, but Fox November 2nd actually, chat. Now the expectation. We got 2 wins over the Mavs and the Pelicans, who may not even make. Both those teams could potentially miss the playoffs this year. And we're feeling like this team's going to be a top-notch team in the West. But, again, there is an extra level for us to go. Maybe there's a fun trade to set us up for future stuff. We're not necessarily, I guess, extra as focused on that as we were in the offseason. That definitely offseason storylines. Make no mistake. Which is maybe why, we don't run, don't have us run a team. Just have us sit here and talk about stuff, because we would actually, you don't actually want us making moves. You just want us talking about making moves, chat. It's like, you can't undo the trade once you do the trade. So, maybe you actually want to see what this team of guys looks like. But Castle, the back cut, the pass to Champagny, the open 3. There we go. He's got to get that one to go. The movement, but you see the team kind of shift into a different team and not say that that's this team is without Wembanyama. Look at how it's a better team. But that's a good thing that, again, it's not like, well, now that Wemby's out there, I have to take over. Now that Wemby's out there, somebody has to pick up the slack. It's like, no, we're still a team. We can still run plays. There's still going to be an open guy if we move the ball. If we execute in the proper, for these proper things, we can still get good looks. And obviously the talent is there to make the shots. So again, Vassell can get a little bit, Castle, these guys can create for themselves. But the movement through the last couple of plays here without Wemby has been pretty encouraging. You see Vassell swing to Castle, a little stagnant in the pick and roll, but Castle. Oh, is he going to get the offensive foul? It is what it is. Too strong, chat. Poole can't keep up. It is what it is. Sometimes if Poole is, thrown so far off the drive that it just looks like it has to be an offensive foul. Yeah, I guess he kind of extends a little bit at the end of the shot. But yeah, that's really just Poole just gets shrugged off there at that point. And Castle is, strong body guard. as well, too. Zion, the tough mid-range shot. Good defense by Vassell. Keeping up. Poole open for three. Ooh, you kind of got to make that one. If you're a Pels fan, I shout out. We're happy that it didn't go that way, but that was definitely an open look for our guy Poole there. Castle, slow it back down. Pause, bring it back out. The crossover, Chet. Oh, he's a dynamic driver. You can't keep up. And he's got the foul game as well, too. His driving game is legitimately lethal. I don't know where we rank him at for best drivers in the league, but he does have a Donovan Mitchell, Shea-esque sort of, again, just strong guard, not thrown off. It doesn't seem like any of, and his hang time and his ability to sort of bend around the bigger defenders or even just the guards and others, wings and stuff that are keeping up with him. His ability to bend around those guys where it seems like he's between the two of them, the last one in the air always, is just kind of a untrainable thing as well, too. I guess Edwards is obviously in that category for just best drivers in the league. But again, those are, I wouldn't say there's a ton of guys that are just initially right up there. I guess, and if we're talking the guards, I guess like Amen Thompson could also emerge into this list as well, too. But I guess Paolo as well, but Paolo is more forward, almost forward center. So I don't know how those guys, I guess like you would consider Giannis a driver. He'd be right up. Giannis, probably the best driver in the league, actually. Sorry to Shea, but it is probably actually Giannis. I guess just me personally, like, make no mistake. I'm like, Shea would definitely lower her shoulder. Like, it might knock the wind out of me. I could see be like, whoa, Shea, drawing fouls on these NBA guys. Like, it's definitely going to be, some contact there if I have to stop Shea in transition. But just me, if you're asking me personally, like literally myself, and I get that, again, I'm not making a stop either way, but I would much rather try to stop Shea than Giannis. And I get that's like, oh, well, at least with Giannis, you know what he's going to do. So if you were for some reason trying to, maybe you could get a steal on Giannis versus like Shea has the craftiness, you're definitely not going to stop Shea. But maybe you draw a charge against Giannis versus Shea like Euro steps. But like, no, Giannis is just going to jump. Like Giannis jumped over Tim Hardaway Jr. Giannis is going to jump over me. Hey, yo. Or he's just going to, his drive is going to be so powerful that it's like, well, it's not a charge is it a charge if he just kills the player on a drive? If I have to be wheeled off, it probably does count as an offensive foul, but it's like, that's, it's not, is it Giannis's fault if his body is just not made to handle the NBA basketball? Hey, yo. But, maybe we have a chance of just, maybe Shea doesn't send us to the hospital versus Giannis to just like totally destroy, everything. So pause. But hey, yo, it's like what we're talking about stopping a drive here, Chad. It is what it is. But I guess, hey, yo, Castle. Point being, Castle, top 10 guard driver in the league, maybe. But like we were saying, or I guess maybe I don't know if we were. Maybe I wasn't saying. Maybe I was thinking this on my own. I don't know. But I guess either way, we were looking at one, I think, ranking at some point that was like best shooting guards in the league. Here, maybe I saved it. Did I screenshot this? I might have, chat. Let me double check and see. Because I was looking at the list and it's like, there is, again, this list is really climbable for Castle here. Like, he can make his way up the rankings. And I guess, yeah, maybe I didn't, unfortunately. But either way, it is, and just, you go trade value as well too, some certain guys on contracts, but there is some timing stuff with some certain guys. And, again, the two-way aspect is interesting where, I don't want to start throwing out crazy names, but, what would the conversation be with like Steph Castle versus Devin Booker at the end of the year? Again, I've been irrationally thinking that the Spurs need to get Devin Booker this entire, last half decade. It's like, we need to trade for this guy. I guess, hot take. Hey, yo, somebody, can we get Devin Booker on a team? But if it was like an individual who's a better player right now, I'm saying there's a world. There's definitely a world. It's not that difficult to see. Up 4 here, as the Pelicans foul, it does look like the Spurs are going to close out that game. So, hey, yo, chat, shout out. Whew. We can move to 2-0. And keep it pushing for the regular season. Pause. But we do have 54 seconds left in this Pistons-Rockets game, and the Pistons are up 2. So is Durant fouled out? Is Durant here? We'll see. The Rockets, I guess, again, you take the OKC to double overtime. It's not like they can't close out a game. Like, that's pretty close to closing out a game. And OKC, it's like, well, they don't lose. They're pretty good. So you take them to double overtime. You think you're pretty good. But maybe end-of-game struggles are going to be a thing here. And I know that us personally, we were definitely not valuing and with all due respect to Van Fleet, not valuing the Van Fleet injury in terms of the final impact for this roster, maybe as we should have been. Just thinking about, again, also maybe a different version of the lineup where, if it's the best version of these guys or the best version of their certain games, like Amen Thompson as a point guard and just figuring out executing all this stuff, then maybe it is a higher upside lineup. But just given the, again, immediate basketball talent, which, as, again, we continue to evolve as NBA fans and as just people trying to learn about basketball, is something that obviously you have to differentiate from. And you have to be realistic about, if your expectations are this for a certain year, well, is your basketball team this? And, if your expectations for the Rockets are to win this year, if you're trying to develop guys and figure out what your lineup is, then yes, experiment with the lineups. And, again, if you're a winning team, experiment with the lineups as well, too, to some degree. You got to figure it out. Pause. But, getting creative and being willing to live with the negative results is, definitely a thing that is a possible thing on the timeline. But, again, if you're trying to be a competitive team and you need a certain level of playmaking and conducting and a certain level of, again, the sort of traditional point guard skills, then you got to be realistic about whether or not you have guys in your roster that can execute that. And, again, we believe that Amen Thompson could be a lead playmaker type in an offense. And I guess to some degree, do we believe that he could be competitive this year? Sure. But maybe he is not quite. If you're going to go toe-to-toe with OKC in the playoffs, maybe you do need some reinforcements there as well, too. And again, is that also Reed Shepherd developing? Is that something that you can fix in your roster? I guess we still think that is also a possibility as well, too, that they have the solution on, again, the best version of it. They would have the solution on their roster. But like we said, you also have to be realistic about, are we seeing that happen? And what would we need to potentially do to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success there? But again, maybe differentiating between ideal Houston and actual Houston, or, giving it 20 games as well too. That's also the rule of the NBA. Give it 20 games. And that's not even, you're not going to be who you are at the 20 game mark. Ideally you are at the 60 game mark, but it is at least like, okay, now we've got some basketball under our belt. So make no mistake, we'll definitely start making conclusions at the 10 game mark as well too. I mean, we're already making conclusions at the 2 game mark, but that would actually be a time to be like, okay, now we've evaluated and the roster adjustments can be made. And then maybe, personnel adjustments after that can be made, as not coaching, but mix up what you have with your lineups. And then if you need to go out and look elsewhere, then you can start to evaluate that as well too. But 10 seconds left, Pistons up by 2. It's not like this game is over. You can throw it into the backcourt. Here's what they do. You got to get it back over the front court, though. They foul Cade. Wait, do they call a violation? Hey, we've got sound off for this right now. Cade is reacting like he is... Oh, no, I think he's mad because he got fouled. Did he run more clock? I think he just wanted to run more clock. Okay, I thought he's running around the backcourt, so I thought maybe he got an 8-second. But it was also an inbound with 10, and they fouled him with 2s, or with 5. So they would have needed to foul him with 2 for that to be an issue. If I'm doing math right, not mistaken about when he got the inbound. So I guess Detroit is not in the bonus, so maybe he's not going to initially get free throws, but that's kind of a good thing as well, too, if that's the case, because you could run a little bit more clock. Honestly, unless this is the one that gets him into the bonus right here. But if he makes both of these, then they're up by 4 with 5 seconds. Like, it's not a bad thing that he got fouled. So, Cade, just go up there and hit the free throws or dribble around. You're in a win-win here, either way. Either way, you run the clock out or you go up by 2 scores. If you make both of these free throws, first one good. So I know Cade was not, putting up triple-double numbers tonight, but he was looking pretty good. And, over the course of the season, he's going to manage to, pause, fill up the stat sheet. And this is a big win as well, too, after they didn't necessarily, overly impress in their first game. But, yeah, see that good balanced game, 17. Hey, pause. We can't speak. 7 for 16 from the field, 3 for 8 from the three-point line. He's still a little bit under where we would thought maybe he would be efficiency-wise as a player. But 9 assists, 7 rebounds. And honestly, not that it works, that he doesn't necessarily make all the shots that you want. But, again, he's obviously a really good offensive player. And this is a team that is kind of a tough team. Hey, they've got, defensive-minded wings, and they can get a little bit, maybe they can, dirty up some games a little bit where it could just be kind of rougher field goal percentage games. Hey, Asar, 9 for 16 tonight. 1 for 3 from 3, but efficient tack in the basket. Minus 12 from the plus-minus will be an interesting one to go back and see how that looks over the course of the full game. But, again, because they can maybe win some slower games at times, the grinded out, him not necessarily, always being the high-level efficiency player can work as well, too. But speaking of not that, 3 for 11 for our guy Reed Shepherd, though Durant with, his first, I guess, great Houston performance, even though it doesn't quite result in a win, but 37 points, a majority of it from the free throw line. Is Durant going to be, do we need to have this as an award, chat? We may need, we should say what it is. We need to have free throw merchant of the year as an award. Last year, lock it in. It's Shea. I know Brunson made a case, but it's Shea. We can go back and, legacy-wise, do we just name it after James Harden? Is it the James Harden free throw merchant of the year? Do we just consider him retired, chat? I don't know. His aspiration, did they hook the Clippers up with like an AI James Harden? I'm not sure. But can we go like free throw leaders by year here? Because I think maybe like Embiid is a little free throw merchanty for sure. I don't know if Giannis is totally in that category. Maybe he's first team all free throw merchant, but I don't know if he ever would have been, is there an MVP merchant something of the year? Merchant something player? I don't know. Hey, it depends on what you think of the free throw merchants, but free throw merchant of the year is definitely an award that we're going to have this year, and we're going to be keeping track. So here we went free throw attempts year by year, and we'll see. Yeah, Shea, Giannis, Embiid, James Harden for a half a decade plus, Dwight Howard. Oh, total free throw attempts. Oh, okay, not per game. I was looking for per game, but still pretty similar names, I'm sure. Durant in 13, 14, and in 9, 10 as well too. Iverson as a free throw merchant. Shaq. So Shaq and Dwight up there overall is kind of fun. Amari in 04, 05. And I'm sure that's, again, just them being so overpowering. But, I'm sure those guys are also getting sent to the free throw line as well, too, a little bit extra. So there's some free throw stat padding going on in the other type of way. The teams are actually sending them to the free throw line. It's not. So, yeah, I don't think Shaq would be a free throw merchant. Because, again, it's not like Shaq is... it's not like when he was driving, he was like swooping under guys' arms to try to like get the contact in. It's like Shaq's just like, I'm just going to run over you and you're going to foul me because you're going to try to stop me, or you're going to, again, just send me to the free throw line because you can't stop me. So I don't know if I would necessarily consider Shaq or Dwight Howard free. Dwight Howard, definitely, I don't think a free throw merchant. I'd have to go back and check. Was Dwight Howard hunting free throws back in the day? Again, I think he was just swooping in for lobs and dunking over people. But I was going to say, Shea's at 20. Even still, Shea's at 20 a game through 2 games? Hey, how many free throw attempts did he have in this Indiana game? We were definitely watching the game, and he had 55. But I guess we weren't keeping an eye on the stat line as that game was going on. We were just kind of watching it as well. Oh, wait a second. That was yesterday. So, here, we'll go back and double check. And then we had to catch back up on Warriors Denver because we fell asleep during that game. Hey, shout out Charles Barkley staying up for these games. we are not. 26 free throws. Hey, yo. So he was still 15 for 31 from the field. Good game there. And, 2 for 7 from the free throw line. Even better from 2 than initially the 50% there. But, yeah, 26 free throws is crazy. So he's at 20 on the year per game. But I guess Giannis led per game last year as well. So Giannis has led the last 3 years, Embiid and then Harden. So Giannis could be a little free throw merchant-y. But I do think Shea would have won it last year with the way that he was. Maybe Brunson, percentage-wise, was hunting free throws a little bit more, even though Shea got more. I'm not sure. DM us at REMINGTOM Pod and let us know. Again, we didn't actually have it active last year, so maybe that's a retroactive one that's too difficult to go back and assign. But this year, I guess Shea with 26 is definitely up there. So Durant with a measly 18 free throws tonight. Ayo, Shea just immediately is going. The Thunder are going back-to-back pause, and Shea is gonna claim his crown again. Chet, Aaron Gordon with that 50 piece against the Warriors as well. Shout out. That's why Wemby wasn't. I was trying to remember who was the guy that was in front, but yeah, Aaron Gordon had like 7 threes in the first quarter of that game while we were still awake. He was still going crazy. Whoa, in the basketball game is what we were talking about there. But Davion Mitchell, 12 assists. Siakam, 15 rebounds, along with Wemby. So yeah, Durant's gonna have to do some work to catch Shea in the free throw merchant per game. Benedict Matherin's at 15 in his game as well too. And I guess Durant didn't really get to the free throw line in the last game. So first game, or per game, through 2, it's not gonna be super crazy. But yeah, shout out Shea, 20 a game. Whoa, that's a crazy note to end it on, chat. Pause. But there we go. Another Friday night in the books. We will be, of course, back Sunday following along. NBA or NFL. Whoa, ayo. We can't remember what league happens on Sunday, chat. Ayo. We're just excited to have basketball back. First week of NBA will, I guess, almost be in the books at that point. Technically, I guess Tuesday to Tuesday. Tuesday is the start week of the NBA week this year. I feel like, has it usually been Thursday? Is that first game? But regardless, hey, we'll be back Sunday. Week 8, Lamar Jackson's back, chat. Hey, I guess is that the #1 story we're looking forward to, but that's going to be up there. Obviously, for major storylines. Week 8 storyline draft, Lamar Jackson return #1. I don't know. But we'll be following along here on the YouTube. You can join us live. Of course, you can follow the podcast feeds or you can follow the live streams on the podcast feeds. They'll get posted on there, Spotify, Apple, across all the various platforms. And I know I mentioned it earlier, but you can send us a message at REMINGTOM on Instagram. You can hit us up in the DMs over there. And let us know who last year's free throw merchant of the year was. And I guess this year, power rankings, Shea 1, Durant 2, Matherin 3. We'll see how Indiana plays in their next game. But thank you guys for jumping on with us tonight. Of course, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we will see y'all, like we said, Sunday, hanging out, watching NFL. I almost said NFL hoops, chat. Hey, yo, it's just NBA, pause, NBA brain. It's just what it is now, chat. NBA brain is how we're going to end this thing. It is what it is.